Good evening, everybody. Welcome to Huge Pop Entertainment. Drop the mic zone tonight. Our guest, he was in MMA. He has a band called Shotgun Savior. He's done WWE, TNA. Welcome to the show. And matter of fact, I have to say he's an ECW guy. Welcome to the show, Goth Black. How you doing, my friend?
I'm great, man. That music in the intro was the greatest thing I've ever heard, man. That guy's voice and that amazing guitar. My God, what an amazing band. Shotgun Savior, man. Check them out, because I'm blown away, man. Those guys are amazing. And that girl playing guitar is smoking hot, man. Oh, man, what a great band.
She is. It is. And that sounds great. So, man, I have such a pleasure to have you on the show, man. I really appreciate you coming on the show.
Thank you.
I cannot wait, guys. You're going to hear everything from time in the adult entertainment, Shotgun Savior, WCW, NWA. We're even going to break down the fourth wall with some people that Goth Black has some things to say. And again, that was some awesome, I think I'm going to say it's a guitar riff. That was an amazing guitar riff. And the lead vocals, I think, is sitting right next to us. So,
yeah, man, I do the singing and she does the picking, man. She's, I always, people say, oh, he's going to put her over because it's his old lady. I'm like, watch her. And they're like, oh, shit,
So I have to start this off with this. I never started off with a guy in the chat, but I have to start it off with a guy in the chat. The guy on the top right's birth certificate is an apology note for the condom factory. I just say, I'll leave it there. All love, man, all love. So, hey, Mr. Black, I got a question for you, man. What was it like for Goth Black growing up as a wrestling fan?
Well, my dad is a professional wrestler. My uncle's a professional wrestler. My dad is Rugged Rod Price, the California Stud. My uncle is a guy named Steve you may have heard of. He drinks a lot of beer and does this a lot. And they were a tag team back in the day called the California Studs, Rugged Rod and Stunning Steve. So from, the time I could walk, man, I'm in locker rooms and around wrestlers and, with my dad. So it's been a natural part of my life, my whole life. I grew up in the business. I'm second generation. And it's just always been there, man. Wrestling has always, been in the family, around me, watching it, loving it as a kid, seeing my dad, my uncle do it. It was just something that was just always there from the time far back as I can remember.
All right. What was some of your favorites growing up other than your dad and Stone Cold?
Man, we'll get into it later with the story. Road Warriors, my all-time favorite tag team, and we'll get into it later about my relationship with Animal and all that. But absolutely, as a child, those guys were superheroes, man. They were larger than life. They were the baddest tag team on the planet. I don't give a damn who comes and goes in the business, who's hot, who's not. There will never, ever, ever be another Road Warriors. That's lightning in a bottle, and that's in the story. It's never going to be anything like that. Of course, Bruiser Brody, huge influence, man. Love Brody. Undertaker, not to be cliche, but Jesus Christ, the guy's phenomenal. He's incredible, one of the best there is. So, those guys were always the ones that stood out. Of course, there's been countless others, as it breaks down. But, Brody, Road Warriors, Taker, were the main ones that, I was a huge Barry Windham guy. So that was part of it. And later on, Bray Wyatt, was a very good friend of mine and like a brother, man. And his real name was Wyndham. And he and I were twin brothers from different mothers. We would have conversations hours long, spitting a million ideas at a time, never sticking to one for over a couple of minutes. We were just flying all over the place with creativity, man. Probably one of the most creative guys I've ever met in my life, And so when he was I'll say a huge influence as far as, years later in the business, meeting a guy who's like me, who we talked about creative ideas for the business and for my band and for all these things. I love the guy. I cannot say enough good things about him. He's a great human being, incredible dad, father, husband, incredible worker. Wyndham was very, very close to me. So it hit hard when he passed, just like it hit hard when Road Warrior Animal passed for me.
Absolutely. Bill.
Let's see. So where did you get your start in the business itself, like wrestling wise?
I got my start in the business from my dad, Rod Price. I played a bands, way back when I was in hair bands, and I was skinny and I was pretty and I had long hair and I looked like a girl, and nobody believes me. They see pictures of me back then, like, is that your old lady? Look again, So many, many years ago in hairband era, I was a hairband guy, big hair, lace up crotch leather pants, the whole nine, man. And I tried and never could get past bar star status, So grunge came along, Alice in Chains, Soundgarden, and all that. And I wasn't a grunge guy, I was a glam guy, And I wasn't going to wear a flannel and grow a goatee and act like I, was one of these guys all along, maybe a poser. So I was like, okay, my road has come to an end here for now. So what's next? I've always loved wrestling. I've always been a mark for the business. I've always, as a kid, I would always, fantasize about, well, if I was a wrestler like my dad and my uncle, this is what I would do. And this would be my name. This is how I'd come to the ring. So it's always been, a fantasy in the back of my mind. And I called my dad and I was like, Pop, I'm thinking about this. I want to get in the business. My dad literally laughed and said, son, seriously, like you're 160 pounds soaking wet. I know you got a background in martial arts and, wrestling, but that's high. Son, you haven't done that in years, And I was like, I want to, beg him. He finally, I guess, just to shut me up or whatever, he figured I'd lose interest after a couple of weeks or whatever. Said, all right, well, you got to move to New Orleans. You got to move out here so I can train. I can't train you over the phone. I sold everything I could sell. What I couldn't sell, I packed up in a U-Haul. I drove to New Orleans and started training at his school. Two other members of the school that are well known is Rodney Mack and Jazz. They're Jazz Women's World Champion Rodney Mack, NWA, WWF, whatever you want to call it, WWE. And we all kind of broke in together. So it was me, Jazz, and Rodney were the ones that really, took off and made a career from that school, and I love those guys. They're like my family. And it was training in 102-degree heat in a big metal building with nothing but one industrial fan blowing. And it was just, it was miserable, but it's what you did. It wasn't like these, wrestling schools and strip malls. Nobody's ever heard of the trainer. Nobody knows who the hell he is. Give me $2,000, kid. I'll make you a star. It wasn't like that. You had to know somebody. You had to be related to somebody, or you had to be highly impressive to even get in the business. Like you couldn't just pay your money and be a wrestler. You had to, like I said, it was something where you were invited. It wasn't something you could just pay your money and do. So, paying your dues, man, I threw up, I puked, I passed out. It was the hardest thing I ever had to do in my life. I go from sex, drugs, and rock and roll to take the skin off chicken and protein shakes. It's a whole other lifestyle, man. And, I've been doing it, for about, I don't know, man, about maybe a month. My dad, and I was god awful horrible, man. I was like naturally gifted or anything like that. I had shoot skills, but like I said, it's been a long time since I've been in that world. It's been bands forever. My dad pulls me in the office. He said, "Have a seat, son." Okay. So how do you think you're doing? Pop, I'm making progress. I'm learning. I think I'm getting there. And he looks at me and says, "Okay, son, now we're through with that bullshit. How are you really doing?" I'm like, "I suck, man. I'm so sorry." Like, you're a referee, you got a good voice, maybe a manager, you can talk good. And I was, "Pop, I can't fail at this." I felt like I had failed at music because I didn't achieve, success nationally. I said, "I can't fail. I've got to succeed in this." And I begged him. And he said, "Okay, here's the thing, man. As of this moment, I'll train you, but your lifestyle changes. You're behind the 8 ball. You got to make up for lost time." Okay. He said, "First of all, those cigarettes here in your hand that you hot box every time we have a break, those are a thing of the past." I was like, "You got to have cardio." I said, "Okay." He said, "And your diet changes. You're gonna start working out in the gym. All your extracurricular activities change as far as gimmicks." He's like, "There's no smoking, no drinking, no doing whatever you're doing, And he said, "And everything changes from this point. And if you don't do that, then I'm not going to train you. Don't love you. Don't waste my fucking time."
Right.
He's a shooter, man. And and plus, he can't be coddling me with other students down there. He expects as much out of me as anybody. I never got a free ride. I'm not David Flair. Oh, did I say that out loud? Anyway, So I went down there, man.
Not wrong.
Busted my ass, man. I remember going home, to my girlfriend I had at the time or whatever. And I'm in the house and I'm pouring out a beat of beer and I'm like flushing my weed. And I was like, "What are you doing?" I said, "My dad said he won't train me if I do this." He's like, he's 2.5 hours away. And I'm like, "He'll know." "Oh, no, he'll know." I was scared to death, man. So, I gave up all that. I was sitting in the office. He said, "Make a decision, son." I just bought a pack of smokes, man. I smoked one. And my pop looked at me and said, "What's it going to be?" He said, "I don't mean you wean off." He said, "I'm saying cold turkey on everything."
Oh.
I can't smoke. I can't smoke cigarettes. I can't drink. I can't eat a cheeseburger. Like everything, cold turkey. Everything changed. And I looked at him, man. I said, "It's okay." Crumble up the cigarette pack, threw it in the trash. And the rest is history. This is how committed. And this is what bothers me today about guys and girls in the business. How bad do you fucking want it? Don't cry. First of all, the business don't owe you a damn thing. They don't owe you nothing. You know,
Mhm.
how bad, what are you willing to sacrifice? I packed up and moved, from Atlanta to New Orleans. I used to drive. I got a job working in a adult entertainment establishment. We'll cover that a little bit later, but I was working there and I was training for my dad on the weekends.
Yeah.
So my weekend consists of this: Friday night, go to work at 8:00, get off work and get home about 5 a.m., sleep for 2 hours, get up and drive 2.5 hours out to my dad's wrestling school. Spend 4 to 6 hours in this hot ass, wrestling school building, whatever. Drive 2.5 hours back, take a shower, get ready, and maybe get a 2-hour nap. Okay. Saturday, wash, rinse, and repeat. Sunday, wash, rinse, and repeat. Over weekend, realistically, I got 6 hours of sleep over from Friday to Sunday, and would drive 5 hours every day across the Lake Pontchartrain. It's like endless freaking water bridge. There's water. It'll nerve wracking. Makes just water on each side of you. There's nothing but water and road. And I would drive 2.5 hours, man. Get the shit kicked out of me. All that stuff. Drive back and go to work. And I mean, that's how bad I wanted it, man. I worked for it. I want to see, show my old man I'm worth your time. I'm worth it. Because I did come from behind the 8 ball, man. I was the least guy you'd expect to succeed as a wrestler, by any means, So I had to double time, and that's how bad I wanted it. I was willing to make that sacrifice. And guys, you're all the business now, it's an hour to drive to, practice. Oh, cry me fucking river, then get the fuck out of the business, I hope I can say these things on this. I'm sorry, I'm like
Absolutely.
F-bombs and, but,
Good.
it's one of those things where it's like, what do you want to sacrifice? Because this business requires sacrifice. I mean, on so many levels, if you got a wife and kids at home, you miss birthdays, you miss first words, you miss first steps, you miss anniversaries, you miss it all. Because back when I broke in, the biggest pay-per-views were the holidays, Thanksgiving, Christmas. Those were all the big ones, and you weren't home for that, And here's the thing I tell guys and girls, they're trying to get in the business. I'm like, if you were lucky enough to wind up, on the road or whatever and be assigned to a major company, you're never home. You're home 2 days a week. What's she doing when I ain't home? Don't know. What's he doing out there on the road? Don't know. That's why the divorce rate in wrestling is skyrocketing, because hardest thing a woman could ever do is be married to a guy who's a professional wrestler and a guy who's in a rock and roll band. God bless my wife. She put up with both, So, but that's, it's all about how bad you want it, man. That's where I first got my start. And, blood, sweat, and tears, man. That's where it all started.
So there's a story, and you'll say, well, you'll figure out where I got this from. There's a story that I need to ask you about. When did you finally meet your dad?
What did I finally what?
When did you finally meet your dad, Rodney? When did
I didn't know who my real dad was until I was 24 years old. I was told somebody else that it wasn't, and this is before the internet. And I always knew, and I like I said, love wrestling. Grew up in the business, went to the shows. My grandfather would take me to local wrestling shows. I was a wrestling fanatic, and my grandmother's like, that guy's not my dad. The guy that said was my dad was like 5 foot nothing. I mean, spaghetti arms. Like this, I'm 12 years old. I'm like, this guy's not my dad. I just knew it. And my grandma said, well, we never want to say anything, but your mom was dating this one guy, before she met your dad, and we always kind of wonder, what's his name? Rodney Price. And Rod Price, he's a football player, or I heard he was a wrestler. I'm like, what? My dad's a what? So this is before the internet, man. And I just tracked him down through fan magazines and correspondence. I mean, everything I could do, and I finally tracked him down, and I called him on the phone and said, hi, you don't know me. Are you sitting down? It was one of those things to where, it was obviously a big shock to him. He didn't know, or this and that. And, we talked, and I said, look, I'm not trying to piss on your life or, cause any drama. I just want to reach out. If you tell me to go away, no hard feelings, no disrespect. And he was like, well, hold on. I mean, it's possible. I mean, the timelines are adding up or whatever. Long story short, I went down to New Orleans to visit him. And I'm sitting there in the waiting room. He had a gym in the front part of the wrestling school, and the wrestling school was in the back. And he walks out, and I see this gigantic guy with like the black Fu Manchu, the shape. And I said, that's my dad. That's my dad. I just knew, and from that point, one thing led to another. And I got the test and all that stuff. And before we even did that, my father was married to a different lady than he is now. And it's like, he's like, what do you think after leaving? And she's like, are you kidding me? He's your spitting image. I mean, like his mannerisms are like yours. He talks like you. That's your twin. That's your clone, And, of course, it was verified that he is. And so the first time I met him was a lot different circumstances than most people, understand. So, and then, like I said, knowing him for that and all that, it was kind of natural. I kind of wanted to follow in his footsteps. I'm like, oh, wait a minute. My dad's a wrestler. Maybe I can do. Maybe it's not a fantasy. Maybe I can make this happen,
Yeah. That's a good story, man. Thank you.
Yeah.
So you were also at the power plant in WCW, correct?
Oh man, the power plant. Let me tell you, if you survive the power plant, you got an S on your chest. That's every horrible story, every nightmare tale you ever. It's true. Every last freaking bit of it is true. I went down there and Sarge, the trainer, is a 5 foot by 5 foot keg of dynamite. Marine drill corps sergeant mentality. I mean, just the power plant was like boot camp, man. It was not, whatever. And I walk in there the first day and Sarge is going up to these guys. I'm not the biggest guy. I'm not the most talented guy. There's, dozens of guys down there. They're all lined up like, Marine military style. He walks up to each one. And Sarge is walking up to these guys that are 6'7", 300 pounds with abs. And he's looking at them and going, I'll have your ass out of here in an hour. You won't last till lunchtime. I'll break your ass in 15 minutes. And he's going up, he's like literally telling these guys, I'm going to break you and you can hit the road. I mean, just giant guy. I'm like, oh shit. And he gets down to me and he walks up, he's looking me up and down. You're Rod Price's kid, aren't you? Yes, sir, I am. Man, I got a lot of respect for your old man. I think he's one of the best ever laced a pair of boots. I'm like, oh, thank you, sir. I appreciate that. He goes, well, let's get one thing straight. I don't respect you for shit. Oh, okay. He goes, but you will earn my respect. He says, as a matter of fact, I expect twice as much out of you as any motherfucker in this room. I expect twice as much out of you. If you don't give it to me, I'll send you home packing and tell your dad how you failed. Holy shit, So for 3 months, man, 3 months, he dogged me, dude. I thought I owed him money. Guys, it was so bad, had so much heat with him when we were down at the power plant. If he'd walk in the room, the guys would powder away from me because, like, man, I don't want heat by association. We can't be seen talking to you. It was that bad, Like, what'd you do to him, And he would like, and this wasn't just me, this was everybody. Like, you're so hot down there. Once again, only a couple of industrial fans, hot ass building, 4 rings, and you would be so soaked in sweat like you just got out of the shower with your shirt on. If you threw up, and everybody threw up, you take your shirt off, you'd have to wipe up the puke with your wet shirt, put your shirt back on, then he'd put you in the ring and make you chain wrestle with one of the baddest shooters down there. You didn't want to be that guy. Like he's this guy that could tie you in knots, and he's got a rub the puke-covered shirt. Sarge wouldn't let you take it off. I passed out. I bled. It was. I get the shit kicked out of me daily. And for 3 months, man, he just. Everyone's like, God damn, he hates you, And about 3 months into it, he pulls me, Goth, come to my office. I'm like, that's it. I'm cut loose, He's through playing cat and mouse. He's done, fucking around. He's not, he got bored, So I walk in there and have a seat. I said, yes, sir. He goes, you probably think I hate you, don't you? Well, sir, that is the impression I've been given. He's like, how many guys walk through that door? Oh, I want it. I got a passion for it. I love it. It's what I want to do. And how many second generation guys? Oh, it's in my blood. And, they wind up, once again, literally, David Flair. Yeah, because he was down there. I was down there. And he said, for 3 months, I have dogged you worse than anybody here. And he said, but you showed up. You might have limped. You might have crawled. You might have passed out. You might have bled. You might have threw up. But every day, if you had to crawl up them ropes, you brought your ass to the ring, to the power plant, and you hung in there for 3 months. And he said, you've proven you're worth my time. There's nothing I won't do for you. And he stuck out his hand, and he shook my hand, and that was earned. That was earned. Respect in our business is something that's not given. It is earned. And earning respect can be very hard. Being taught respect can be very painful, And from that point on, Sarge went to the office, and I got my deal. All because of him. They said, who's down there? Who's doing good? Who's the prospects? Who's, God, and so every break I got in WCW, every, thing that worked out for me there, it was all due to Sarge, but I earned that. It was not, oh, you're Rod Price's son. You're, Austin's your uncle. Oh, yeah, come on. You're welcome. Welcome to the family. No, it wasn't like that at all. Nope. I had to prove more than anybody else because he expected more out of me than anybody else. So it was something, 3 months, man, it was like hell, like Marine boot camp at Paris. It was hell. And, suffered through it, made it. And, and once again, once I got that was just the beginning, man. Once you get the deal, the contract or whatever, that's just the beginning because you got to earn your spot on the card. You know, if you think you walk into that locker room and guys like Booker T or, you know, whoever, you know, Ming, Haku are waiting with flowers and open arms, you're fucking sadly mistaken. Because when you come in, somebody's going out. You're taking somebody's spot. There's only so many spots on a show.
Mhm.
And when you go in, somebody goes out. So they don't want you there. Especially some guy that, you know, they're coming in the door, you know, just starting the business, only been there a couple of years. I mean, by the time I went to the power plant and got my deal with them, I'd been working for about 2 years. So I was by no means a veteran, you know. And like I said, I had some strong points. I had some weak points. I wasn't the best guy down there, physically or, whatever, you know, or ability to work wise. I mean, I learned, but, you know, I would say this, and the thing that changed it for me is I could talk. And Shawn Michaels will tell you 99% of your work is done behind that microphone. If you can't talk, you have a serious disadvantage to start with. And, you know, I'm down there one day and we're, you know, doing all these drills and all this stuff. And, you know, we do like a promo day or whatever. You know, guys, they put you in front of a camera and they're like, all right, guys, you know, scenario, you're working Scott Steiner at Halloween Havoc for the championship match. You got 2 minutes. What do you say? And these guys were like, at Halloween Havoc, I'm going to prove to these people, prove to you that I'm the best. Dog shit. I'm the same shit you've heard a million times, you know. And, you know, they're like, okay, the Goth go. And I'm like, you know, let me tell you something, Big Papa Pump. I think you're Big Papa Chump. After I beat your ass in that wrestling ring, I'm going to go back to the hotel room. I'm going to roll up a fatty, smack that bitch on the ass, and make a holler, who's your daddy? And they were like, the room went silent, you know, just fucking dead silent, you know. And Eric Bishop, he said, wow, give me another one. I'm like, oh, shit, you know. And I'm like, you know, I'm 6'4", wound up from the ground up, G'd up from the feet up, jacked up, pissed off, and ready to throw down. And he was just like, this guy's like fucking Billy Graham. Like, this kid can talk, you know? And I was yeah. And I would throw, you know, he would throw like scenario, I mean, like stupid shit like, okay, you're a German wrestler who's a heavy metal band wrestler. Your name is, you know, and I would have to come up like on the spot, these different characters. They just throw at me like you're a, you know, Swedish chef who turned around, these crazy gimmicks just to see if you could do it, you know. And they literally threw the one at me like, okay, you're a German heavy metal rock star who's a wrestler. The fuck do you do with that? Like, okay. And, you know, they're like, go. You got 2 minutes. And off the top of my head, I'm like, I am Aaron von Schwollenpacker. And when I get you in the ring, I will beat your head with my enormous Schwollenpacker. And people just die laughing, you know. And,
nice.
And that was what really kind of opened the door for me. Like, okay, he's got ability. He's learning. He's got some natural talent. You know, he's got some size, but the time was a power play is about 250, you know. And they're like, well, God damn, the kid can talk, you know. So that was the thing that really, you know, set me apart. Everybody's got their set of tools in their chest that makes them stand out, whatever they may be. And I had good work skills. I had good look, and I could talk a blue streak, man. And that's what really, you know, opened a lot of doors for me.
Wow. So who was harder on you training wise, your dad or Sarge?
It was equally abusive fathers. I mean, it really was. I mean, that prepared me for Sarge. I mean, I would have never made it through the power plant had I not gone through what I went through with my dad. It was like a training. I didn't know I was going to the power plant. This was like, you know, I'm in New Orleans. I'm like, okay, WCW's in Atlanta, Georgia, where I used to live, and WWE or WWF at the time is in Stamford, Connecticut. Well, I don't want to move to Connecticut. You know, I lived in Atlanta before, so I went back to Atlanta and, you know, got a tryout. And then from that tryout, you know, I was able to get on. So, I mean, it was equally as hard. I mean, it wasn't any different. It was both brutal. I mean, they're both, you know, horrible conditions as far as the heat, you know, throwing up, getting sick, blowing up. I mean, it's all the same. But I would have never made it through the power plant if it wasn't for Rod Price 101.
So before we get any further into your wrestling career, because there's lots to talk about, you've got two other topics I want to talk about. And Bill can have some questions, but talk to us about the crazy times that you had in the adult industry as a bouncer and whatever you did.
Man, I always moonlighted while I was training to wrestle, and, you know, before I got into business and everything, I moonlighted as, you know, working the adult entertainment, gentlemen's clubs, you know, aka strip clubs. And I could bartend, I could DJ, I could manage, I could bounce. You know, I learned how to do everything. You do that, you keep a job longer. You know, if you're a jack of all trades, you get to do that. So that to me was like, okay, I can make really, really good money while I'm pursuing this dream. You know, while I'm pursuing this, you know, dream of being a pro wrestler. And it was just, to me, it made more sense than anything else. Why am I getting a job at a warehouse for, you know, $14 an hour when I can make, you know, $2,000 a night? You know, I mean, it's, you know, it's a no-brainer, you know. So I got into adult entertainment clubs, and that was always my bread and butter while I was training to wrestle. I worked in them until I got my contract. until I went to work for WCW, I worked in strip clubs years. My whole from the time I was 21, 18. I think I got my first job at a club when I was 18. My first strip club was 21, and then from there it was just off to the races, man. I'm like, well, I'm making this much money. Why not? Why would I do anything else?
Right. Okay. Is there any crazy stories of any like you can share with that strip club, adult entertainment?
I mean, man, thousands. I mean, anything from throwing people out to, girls getting into it. I mean, there's so many crazy stories,
All right, that's
It's
fair.
like, I can tell you one that I thought was, not really, I don't know if it's humorous or just like a cool thing to happen or whatever. I was working in this club, and we had what we call a club cat. There's a little cat that stayed outside around the valet park, and everybody would feed the cat. The guys in the kitchen would give him food. He was a sweet little cat, this little club cat. He hung out outside. He was pretty tame. He'd walk up and get people to pet him. This sweet little cat, I mean, really. Like I said, I'm a big cat guy, and I'm standing there, man, and I'm talking to one of the valet parking guys outside or something, and I see this guy, and I've been doing this so long. I know guys are going to fight before they know they're going to fight. Body language, I can read the room. I'm like fucking Roadhouse, man. I'm Dalton. That's me in a club, And this guy's looking at his friend. He's like, what the fuck is he doing? And his friend's like, no, don't do it. Because I understand, like, what is he doing? And I'm like, what the fuck is he about to do? He comes running. His intent was to punt kick this cat, like kick the cat across the parking lot or whatever. So once I see him going to a sprint, and the way he's living, his friend's like, no. I was like, I know what he's doing. So I'm standing there, man. And right at the last minute, I turned around and I clotheslined the piss out of this guy. I mean, at the time I'm 300 pounds. I clotheslined him so hard, it spun him 180 and knocked him out of his shoes. He landed snoring and pissed and shit on himself, And, he's just like, and I'm throwing the boots to him, and they're trying to pull me off of him or whatever. And they get me back in the club or whatever. And my other guys I work with, they said, man, get the fuck out of here. Get off the property. He said, what, man? Just a fucking cat. Just a cat. And my buddy at work said, let me tell you something. We like that cat more than we like you. And he said, well, can I just, I'm sorry. Can I just come in? He's like, are you out of your fucking mind? He said, if I let you in there, that big motherfucker's going to eat your face. And none of us can get him off of you. You're fucked. So that was just a story. It might not be so hot and sizzling, but it's, one of those funny stories like, holy shit.
All right, Bill.
Let's see. Out of all the strip clubs and clubs you bounced, did you have anyone that was worse than the others for fights?
No, I mean, some were worse as far as money. I mean, money was better at some of the top clubs, not so good at some of the other clubs. Me and my tag team partner at the time, I was in a tag team called Inc. 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 Incorporated for years when I started in the business, and we were a tag team. And we would work in clubs. And there was one we worked in. My partner and I was like a Roadhouse strip club. Man. It was like a strip club in the middle of an industrial area. There was nothing around but a truck stop, like a big truck stop. So these truckers would come in and be on a layover for 2 days with $3,000 in their pocket, and there's nothing to do but go to a strip club. So that was like, man, they might as well put chicken wire up around the stage. I mean, it was rough, dude. It was nothing but truck drivers and outlaws and bikers, and it was just a tough club, man. Fights every night. It was literally Roadhouse, And that one was an experience, but I was there for years, man. I mean, me and my brother both were there for years. And that was a Wild West, Now, some of the other clubs I worked in where I had to wear like a suit and tie and whatever. So they're all different, from Roadhouse strip club to, posh elite champagne rooms and, that kind of thing. So I've worked at all of them, man. From the outhouse to the penthouse. I covered it all,
Nice. So I'd like to introduce some of these people around the thing. So Dan, he's a follower. He watches the show. Hey, love this show. And my question is, if you could go back in your career, what's the one thing you might do differently, if any?
Wow. One thing I might do different. Wow, man. It's just, I've had such a, there's nothing, I can't really think of something I would do different. I mean, I'm really trying to answer that question, man. I mean, anything was, even if even if it was a bad call, it was a learning experience. So if I didn't do that, it wouldn't put me to where I was now, So I mean, like, one of the worst experiences I had, and there's no disrespect intended, was when I was under developmental at WWE in Deep South Wrestling in Medina, Georgia. There were guys in there that I loved, guys in there that I hated, but coming from WCW, man, it was another world. They didn't think the same, they didn't act the same, things weren't done the same, So maybe instead of going there, of course, at the time, you're not going to turn it down. I mean, WWE, developmental, whatever. So I probably would have just called Terry Taylor at TNA and went right to there because I was down there for a year. And it was just a miserable experience. I didn't like it. I mean, some of the guys on there I love, like Luke Gallows, great guy. Kofi Kingston, great guy. The Miz was an egotistical prick. You know, you heard about him in the beginning. So he was even worse than like he had just come through the door. You know, and I remember I was tagging with Gangrel, David Heath, one of the best workers ever laced a pair of boots, man. That guy doesn't get enough credit for being the phenomenal worker he is, you know. And, you know, the guy's doing like a tag thing or whatever. And the Miz comes over, Mike Mizanin, like, you know, we're back to the locker room, and he had just come down there, and he walks up and goes, "Hey, guys, I'm Mike Mizanin from MTV Road Rules and MTV this and MTV that." And Dave looks at him and says, "I don't need your fucking resume, asshole. Get the fuck away from, like, who the fuck are you?" You know, I'm like, Jesus, man. So there were some, you know, some pricks down there. There were some cool people. You know, it was a learning experience. So I can't say I would do it differently, but I probably would have tried to go straight to TNA rather than going through that if I'd known how it was going to work out. It was a learning experience, and I'm not saying I regret I did it, but perhaps I could have saved time and been in a better spot in TNA had I bypassed the Deep South McDonough, Georgia thing. And that's nothing against, you know, Jody Hamilton, the original assassin, was the guy that ran it, and Jody trained Sarge. So there's lineage there, you know, there's, you know, respect there, you know, family tree, whatever, you know, but like some of the guys are really cool. You know, Bill DeMott was down there. Bill DeMott's a bully and a prick. You know, I'm not gonna sugarcoat a fucking thing. I tell him to his face because he ain't gonna do shit. You know, Bill's the kind of guy, man, he will bully you if he thinks he can get away with it, you know. And they told him, you can either resign or we're gonna fire you. I mean, the people were going to the office so much. And I'm not talking about guys not being tough and being a crybaby. I'm saying he would do stupid shit, call people faggot and suck dick and all, you know. He would tell guys, if you messed up a spot, go over there and put your balls in his face, sit in the corner, rub your balls in his, I mean, stupid shit like that, man. I mean, Sarge would beat your ass and break you down, but he never did shit like that. You know what I mean? He, you know, be somebody, I'm begging you, you know, get up, motherfucker. If you fucked up and you know, screwed up, you do Hindu squats and push-ups with a deck of cards. If you were the guy that was a weak link and you dropped after the push-up, he'd make the whole, you know, team do 25 more push-ups or whatever. But he never did that stupid shit, you know? And Bill would just bully guys he could get away with it with. Like Tyrus was down there, and Tyrus was a great guy. You know, he's gigantic, you know, made a great career for himself. He didn't pull that shit with Tyrus. He didn't pull that shit with me. He didn't do it with Luke Gallows. It was the guys he thought he could get away with it from, you know? So I had zero respect for Bill DeMott. The first time he worked Goldberg, he tried to tank him on his finish. He was the first guy to job to Goldberg on Saturday night, you know, WCW. First guy he was jobbed to when Bill was on TV. And he lead-assed him on that jackhammer. But Bill's so fucking straight, he picked his fat ass up and slammed him, you know? But he was telling everybody backstage, yeah, watch this. I put this guy over. Oh, yeah, he's a little fit. Like, Bill was telling everybody in the back he's going to tank his move. And Bill was so strong, he just muscled his ass up and slammed him, you know? So Bill DeMott is an ass-kissing. If it's a guy that's in a higher spot than him or whatever, he's an ass kisser. He's a, oh, my buddy, my guy, or whatever. If you're below him, he treats you like shit, and he was a bully down at Deep South, and that's why his ass got fired. If I'm wrong and I'm making up shit right now, then why did his fucking ass get let go? You know, proof's in the pudding, man. You know, Jody I loved. Dave Finley I love. You know, Bill DeMott, fuck you, you know, straight up.
So while we're on this issue of you're letting people know how they feel, I know, and I can't even wait to hear this. I'm just going to throw out Zack Ryder.
Oh, man. Well, I'm just a heat magnet tonight, ain't I?
A.K.A. Matt Cardona.
Yeah, good thing you got the music thing happening, man, because they'll never hire me now. But, you know, I was down there, and him and Kurt Hawkins were down there. And they were doing this. I don't know what the fuck it was. They both had long blonde hair, pretty boys. I don't know what it was. And they just looked like Barbie doll boys. I don't know what the gimmick was. That, you know, they weren't twins, but they looked alike with long blonde hair and matching tights and all that. But they were just really effeminate looking guys. I mean, what's to say, you know? And we're doing this thing one time in the ring, and we're doing like a round robin. Like everybody's on the ring apron, and you just tag. It's like a battle royal where you tag in, but two guys in the ring. So you tag anybody, they get in, and you get to work with everybody, people with different styles, different sizes, whatever. And you got to have a good match or a good spot with them or whatever. So I get tagged in with whatever fuck you want to call him, Zack Ryder or whatever. And I get him in the corner, man. And I went to chop. I chopped him once, and I went to do it again, and he covered up. And I was like, you fucking pussy. You know, like, what the, you know? And I said, put your fucking hand in. And he's, you know, no. And, you know, like, what the fuck? And, you know, from that point on, I lost all respect. Not because I have a whole lot for him, but he was one of those guys, man. He is all show and no go. I don't give a fuck how jacked up you are on the gear. He's an ass kisser. That's an ass kisser politician. In a real fight, he couldn't bust a grape in a food fight, man. Neither could fucking his buddy, you know, Kurt Hawkins or whatever. That's why they were job guys for so long. He couldn't get over. You know, they pushed him to come out. If Zack Ryder shoved his head up John Cena's ass any further, he would suffocate. He used to carry his luggage. He used to I'm like, why don't you just get on your knees and blow him, man? Right? Just get on your knees with John right now, just blow him. You know, he was such a, punk. You know, I mean, I don't give a fuck if I get heat for this. A lot of people like him, and that's cool. A lot of people in the business, I have friends that are not friends with my other friends. That's just the way the wrestling business works. But from that one day, we covered up on the chop, and he was always whiny, and he was always trying to kiss ass and politic instead of actually put in the shit and the work. I just lost all respect for him and his partner and never got it back. And, like I said, I mean, these guys, he's back with the company now. So obviously his girlfriend, Chelsea Green, got him a spot, his wife, whatever the fuck she is, So I think that's why he's there, obviously, even though she can't get over with a fucking forklift, and, somebody likes him. He's got a job making money, but I just never thought he's all show and no go, man. Like
never. I met the guy one time. As a matter of fact, I reached out to him like I reached out to you.
Yeah.
His response was, "You couldn't wipe my ass with your $500." I'm like, "I wasn't planning on paying you $500." He goes, "That's the problem."
Wow. See, that's what I'm talking about. A prick. He's just a fucking prick, man. I mean,
I seen him at the River City WrestleCon the following 6 months later. He walked up by my table. He looked at my wife and laughed and walked. He goes, "I got better things to do." I'm like,
I would have stomped a mud hole. I mean, I know everybody's not 6'4" and 325. I mean, I get it. Everybody's not the guy I am, but that's what he does. He's a smart ass, punk ass. But if John Cena was there, he'd have his tongue up his ass. I mean, it just, it's that kind of guy. He's such an ass kissing parasite. When he did that gimmick with Edge, him and his partner, they were doing like the lookalike Edge or whatever the hell they were doing. Man, they were just swinging on Edge's nuts. So I'm like, good God. I mean, they're just, oh, I love that gear, man. You always have the best gear. You always look so cool, man. Dude, you're so awesome. I'm like, oh my God. Once you get on your knees right here in front of everybody, just go ahead and blow him right here in front of him. It's just so disgusting. When you don't have talent and you can't get over, the only thing you can do is politic and kiss ass, I rest my case. I'm shooting with you because you had an experience with him yourself. There are more people had experience with him like you than there are other people that didn't. Some people love him. Some people hate him. I'm one of the guys that I can give a shit less about him or his partner.
Yeah, I'm right there
No
with
respect. No respect. So, Bill.
I agree on the Cardona thing. Me and him have had some figure spats over the years.
Yeah, he thinks I'm like, you're just because you kiss John Cena's ass doesn't mean you're John Cena. He thinks he's a much bigger star than he is. And he got on the gear, so he's all jacked up now compared to being a little skinny guy. But once again, these guys, this is the thing with me, man. I'm old school. There's a difference between sports entertainer and professional wrestler. When I got into business and watched my dad and watched my uncle, I never said, I want to be a sports entertainer. No, I said, I want to be a fucking wrestler. And that's what I did, And the difference is sports entertainers are guys who pretend to be tough. Wrestlers are legitimate badasses. Big difference. Stan Hansen was not a sports entertainer. Bruno Brosey was not a sports entertainer. Road Warriors were not sports entertainers. They were wrestlers. Ole Anderson, not a sports entertainer. Wrestler. So when all these sports entertainers came along, it was code word for these guys are bitches. They look like they're tough, but they're really not. And that, to me, that's what sports entertainer means. I think it's the stupidest fucking term I've ever heard of. And I think guys that are proud to call themselves that don't belong in the business anyway. Because basically, you're not a wrestler. You're, a guy pretending to be tough.
Yeah. Bill.
Let's see. So you keep bringing up the Road Warriors. So you and the Road Warrior Animal later on worked together on a tag team?
Yeah, first of all, growing up idolizing these guys. When me and my brother went a tag team, any tag team I've been in, like the Road Warriors were the inspiration. I mean, why set your sights on anybody else that's second best? I no disrespect to any other tag teams, Rock and Roll Express, Midnight Express, all these great tag teams. No one could touch the Road Warriors. They were mythical. You couldn't touch them. I got on my old school Road Warriors gym T-shirt right now. That's how far I go back. And I just idolize the guys. Well, Animal was working with a tag team. I forgot what the name of it was, but it was Crimson from TNA and Jax, J-A-X, a guy. And both good guys or whatever. Crimson had a basketball player build. He was muscular, lean, but he was very tall. He wasn't really big as he was tall. He had a good body, but he wasn't Road Warrior. He was, tall basketball player. Jax was a shorter guy, great, jacked up, no pun intended, who passed away. God bless him. He's a great guy, and they were doing, I forgot the name of the gimmick, but they were doing this gimmick and Joe was managing them. Okay. So for whatever reason, Joe no longer was managing them. I don't know why. I'm not going to speculate why. The relationship ended. you know. And there was a promoter named Eric Nelson who runs Stranglehold Championship Wrestling, which I've worked a lot for. And he's good friends with a lot of guys, the veterans in the business, Sergeant Slaughter, all these old school guys. He's a great promoter, an honest promoter. I know that's fucking unheard of, but, you know, he pays the guys well. He's a good guy. And I was on shows, you know, with Animal. And before I ever met him, when me and my brother were doing the ink gimmick, we wore face paint and we wore dog collars, spiked dog collars. Before I ever did that, I got in touch with Joe and reached out to him and said to my dad, you know, I said, hey, man, we're doing this tag team. I know you've been ripped off a million times. We're paying homage. You're our idols. You know, we don't, you know, we wear face paint. It's not like yours. We do wear the dog collars, you know, because this is, you know, you guys are our idols. If I don't get the blessing from you, I won't do it, you know, unless you give me the okay. And Joe said, well, you know, send me some footage of you guys. He's not just going to say, yeah, I'll be anybody, you know. And I sent him some footage, and he's like, okay, yeah, you guys are the real deal, man. I don't have a problem with it. You know, thank you. And I was like, oh, thank you, sir. Thank you. So he had respect for me from the get-go, because you know how many guys have been out there and tried to be Road Warrior ripoffs? Thousands, you know. And and most of them were just fat guys. Most of them, you laugh at it. You know, it's like, oh, my God. It's like all the guys out there trying to be Sting. You know, I'm like, Sting never looked like 10 pounds of shit in a 5-pound bag, buddy. Drop it, you know. I don't care if you got a bleached blonde flat top, you know, got a body like a melted fucking candle. You know, stop, you know. So, you know, Joe, Eric was talking to him. He said, we're going to manage, you know, another tag team. He's like, I don't know, man. You know, this and that. He kept getting in his ear, man. Rod Price's son, Goth. I'm telling you, man, Goth guy. He just kept getting in his ear. And Joe started really watching my matches, you know. And this time I was a singles competitor. And he just, you know, and he went to Eric and, you know, was like, okay, I do like this guy. I mean, I like him. Anyway, he got to know me working shows with me. So, you know, there's a lot of respect there and we got to be friends or whatever. But, and the booker, Eric, said, look, man, I got him and I got a guy in New York as his partner, a guy named Rage. And Rage is, you know, like me, big, jacked up, tattooed guy. You know, we look like fucking Road Warriors, man, you know. And Joe, you know, agreed. He liked me, and you know, he agreed and whatever. And we started working with me. And it was like a dream come true, man. This is like a kid. You want to hang out with Superman, all of a sudden you are. You know, it was just mind blowing, you know. And he would give me so much good advice and tell me things, this and that. And he was managing a tag team. We were called Legion, and he gave us that name. So anybody say anything else about it, you know, he gave us that name. We weren't Road Warriors or the Legion of. We were just Legion. That was what he christened us with, you know. So, you know, we did that. We wore the face paint. We didn't wear Road Warrior face paint. We wore our own face paint. But with him out there, you know, it was what it was. And we come in, slide underneath the bottom rope and come up beating ass. I mean, we were legitimately like those guys. We were real wrestlers. We weren't sports entertainers, you know, and we were, you know, legitimately tough guys. And Joe had all these plans for us, man. Like, we're going to go to Japan. Or we're going to be talking to people over there. Maybe be talking to AEW, you know, this and that. Blah, blah, blah. And Joe had all these plans and managed us on some independent shows and stuff. And man, it was lightning in a bottle. Like, I'll go, here we go. This is it. This is, you know, here we go, you know. And unfortunately, Joe passed away during the midst of all this. Now, with that happening, you know, Rage and I still tag together, you know. But the thing is like, without Animal there making it legit, to anybody that doesn't know, we're just another Road Warrior ripoff. I mean, we're a believable Road Warrior ripoff. But to anybody that doesn't know the history, like he actually managed us and gave us the blessing and all that, you see two guys come out and they're trying to be the fucking Road Warriors. So without him there to legitimize it, we just look like all these other guys. We do a better job than them. But to people that don't know, you know, oh, well, these guys trying to be the Road Warriors. So as the plane was taking off, it unfortunately crashed, you know, and Joe passed away, and I lost a mentor. I lost another dad. I lost a friend, a brother. I mean, you know, I'm very good friends with his wife and his daughter. You know, like, he was family, man. It became so much more than you know, just wrestling. And I remember one time I was talking to his beautiful wife, Kim, and she was talking to me after Joe passed. And one of the biggest compliments I could have ever got in my life, she's like, yeah, you know, Joe was telling me about you, and he first started working with you. And he just said, Kim, he reminds me so much of Mike. He's just like, he's this gigantic guy, hard to go, but he'll tear your freaking head off. Mike meaning Hawk. So to be compared to that, you know, the highest compliment means more than any belt, means more than contract. I mean, you can't put a price on that. And for him saying, I remind him of him, the top of the mountain, you know, where do you go from there, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, that's one of those things, you know, you ask that question, what was your favorite wrestling moment? A that right there.
That would be it. Yeah, my favorite wrestling moment. I mean, other than getting my WCW contract because I got a contract. I mean,
Right, but that doesn't compare to that.
Yeah, I mean, I got a break in business. I got a contract, but as far as like my favorite moment, as far as heart and sentimental or emotional, yeah, I mean, having my hero manage me. I mean, absolutely, man, that was the pinnacle, the high spot. I mean, above anything else, that's my favorite memory, my favorite time in the business because it was just like, I just like pinch me. Am I dreaming? Is this really real? So that was definitely my best time in the business as far as that, emotional and sentimental things go.
So you and I talked on the phone a couple weeks ago, and ever since then, I wanted to hear this story more. So you mentioned at the beginning, your uncle is Steve Austin. What is that experience like to have growing up around Stone Cold Steve Austin?
Well, like I said, I met, Steve was tag team partners with my dad for years. So he's, uncle by association, like Uncle Steve, because he's my dad's partner for years and years,
Yeah.
By the time I got into business, like I said, I met my dad and forgot who he was when I was older in life. So I didn't really grow up around him so much as I grew up in the business around him because when I got into the business, he was there,
Okay. Yeah.
And, what does he like this? And I'm like, what you see is what you get. That's him. I mean, he turns the volume up on his personality to 12 when he goes in front of the camera. Steve is a beer drinking, good old boy from Texas. I mean, what you see is what he is. There's no. We always say wrestling, the best work is a shoot, And for years and years, they try to tell him, be this guy. You're from California. You're a movie guy. You're doing this and that. And they would literally tell him at WCW when he would do a promo. They said, don't sound like a redneck. Talk really slow and don't, enunciate. We don't want you sounding like some hick from Texas. They try to make him be everything he wasn't. So if you listen to those old interviews and he's talking, he's like, come Saturday night in the Omni, we're going to go out there and we're going to beat you. And you can hear him like trying not to sound Southern, trying not to, to talk real slow or whatever. So they didn't let him be him, and then when they finally did let him be him, I mean, he bet all his money on him, man. True story behind that is he was the ring master and all that shit. And he hated it. He was just not what he was, who he was. And at the time he was married to Jeannie, his wife, who he has children with, and just wonderful lady, sweetheart of a lady. And, he's sitting there like he's trying to come up with a name or a gimmick or whatever because he told Vince, I'm not the ring, this ringmaster thing is not working. And Vince, well, who are you? I don't know, you better think of something. So, he comes to Vince and he's sitting there. One day he's having tea because, she's from England, so they do tea. And they're drinking tea. And he's like, what am I going to do? I got to come up with a gimmick. I got to come up with a name. I got to figure this out, And Jeannie's like, well, I don't know, but, drink your tea before it gets stone cold. And Steve's like, okay. She said, wait. Hold on. That's your name. He said, what's my name? She said, Stone Cold Steve Austin. Boom. Off to the races. Royal Rumble, he gets his mouth busted open and stitches, and he comes back to the ring. That legitimized in front of the fans. He's a badass. Even though he was ringmaster or whatever, but he was getting a push to win the Rumble. He went to Vince, and Vince literally told him, man, a guy in plain black trunks with plain black boots with a shaved head, you couldn't get over it. You're never going to get over, this and that. And Steve said, well, I think I will, whatever. And Vince basically told him, okay, it's on you. If you get over, so be it. But if you fall short, you sign your own death warrant. If you don't pull it off, understand you're the reason that you'll demise, whatever. So Steve bet on Steve, and he went out there, man. And truth of the matter is, he didn't rehearse that. He didn't have something thought out. He went out to the ring, and Jake the Snake was doing like the religious gimmick at the time or whatever, And Jake goes out there, and, Steve grew up in a, church environment growing up. His family went to church and all that, and he knew Bible scripture, whatever. And Jake was talking about this and that. And Steve said those words, you talk about your John 3:16. Well, Austin 3:16 said, I just whipped your ass. The next night at Raw, there was Austin 3:16 signs everywhere. The rest is history. I mean, they call it the Austin era. I mean, it's just one, to me, he's my uncle or whatever, because my dad tagged with him. To me, he's the biggest superstar, bigger than Hogan, bigger than, he's the biggest star in the industry, in my opinion. Not saying that because of the relationship. It's facts, man. That guy, find it. I mean, they don't name an era after anybody else. I mean, so that was kind of what it was like getting to know him. Is that, this guy's legit. Like, he is what he says, and he is what he does. And, he finally started being himself. That's one thing I learned from him. Be true to yourself. Don't try to be something you're not, or this false character. Be the best work is a shoot. And I learned that from him. Like, don't try to be the repo man or what. I mean, no offense to the guy. I'm just saying, no offense to Barry.
Right.
Don't try to be, the one, the Canadian Mountie or whatever. Some guy you're not. That's why I don't like these sports entertainers, man. It's all gimmick. It's all fluff and no stuff. They got nothing but a character that creative throws them, and creative sucks. I'm just gonna be honest with you. These guys don't know how to. They're all former soap opera writers. I don't know if people know that or not, but all these guys up there, whatever, 90% of them are soap opera writers. So they try to do the soap opera thing with. They've never been in a wrestling ring. They've never, worked on a show, and it's gone awful horrible. All the cheesy, stupid shit you see is lazy creative. My buddy Jake Hager's a prime example of that. That guy was so talented. I was with him at Deep South. Jake Hager's phenomenally talented. Work or shoot, the guy's a badass. And the best they could give him is We the People. I mean, it got over for a minute. Don't get me wrong, but come on, man, how many times they repackaged it? Because creative had this idea, that idea. So I would tell anybody in the business, if you're relying on creative to come up with your gimmick, you're not going to last long, because you have to have your own thing. My uncle bet on himself and did his thing, and he made it bigger than anybody. You have to be yourself. Tell the creative, what character will I be? Or what? I mean, they come up with the dumbest shit from I forgot Chris Jericho. At first, they call him Zero or Mr. Zero, whatever. Stupid shit, And if you rely on creative, you're signing your own, you're signing your own walking papers, because they're not going to, come up with a good idea, because they're all corny and stupid, and they're going to be short-lived, and, you're going to be a comedy act, and then it's over. Then what, So the guys and girls that have longevity are people that are true to themselves and do their own gimmicks. Back in the day, all the writers were wrestlers. All the bookers were wrestlers. All the what we call creative were wrestlers. They came up with storyline. All the guys were wrestlers, so they understood the business, the psychology, the whatever. These soap opera writers don't know shit, but white trash Jerry Springer TV. That's all. I'm
gonna ask you a question. I want you've been honest the whole show, so I'm gonna ask you a question. So we are less than 2 months from WrestleMania.
Oh boy.
Do you watch current pro stuff, and do you think there's anything? There's no good storylines even going into that.
No, there's no good storylines, but there is talent there. I mean, I've known Phil Brooks, CM Punk, since he worked at Ring of Honor. That's how long I've known Phil. Phil is talented. He's a great guy, and people want to hate on him or whatever. Well, hate on him all you want. You hate on him all the way to the bank. He is what you see. CM Punk is CM Punk. That's not a character or a gimmick. I mean, he has done stuff in the past where he, did a character for a while when he shaved his head and was doing the cult leader thing or whatever. But Phil is Phil, and he's a talented guy. The Usos are talented. There's so much talent there. And what kills the talent are these stupid ass redundant storylines. Guys working the same guys over and over. They can't let guys up and come and break the glass ceiling, because you lock down with all these guys that are veterans. And that's a good thing. I'm not saying they're not a draw. I'm saying, how are you going to ever have any future superstars if you lock it down and it's only Seth Rollins, Cody Rhodes, Drew McIntyre? If it's the same guys over and over and over in the same angles with each other over and over and over, LA Knight's been buried. I mean, the guy, Jesus Christ, the guy is white hot. And they're just like Rob Van Dam, they're dropping the ball with him. They should have had a title on him a long time ago. When they were in Saudi Arabia for that pay-per-view and they're chanting LA Night. I mean, the guy was red hot, white hot, over. And they shuffled him and buried him. And then, now he's losing the matches. He's not winning. He's not winning anything. He goes for the challenge, and then he loses, and this guy is white hot. And if they keep screwing around, Shinsuke Nakamura. I went over to All Pro New Japan when I was at WCW for a talent exchange. New Japan is the best wrestling on the planet, in my opinion, right now. I mean, they've always have been. They're way more shoot-based. They don't give a crap about character so much as they're like, okay, what's the storyline? He's got the belt and I want it. There's your story. He's making the money. He's got the belt. I want that. That's the story, And these guys do damn near shoot style. I mean, we went over there, and my tag partner was a guy named Omen. And Omen was he's passed away now, one of my best friends. His name's Troy, his real name. And we went over there, man, and we get in there, man, and these guys are lighting us up, man. We're, practicing at the dojo. Man, they're kicking the piss out. I mean, I'm like, what the hell is, and they are just laying it into us, man. I mean, we work stiff. If you've got a power play, you work snug, you work stiff, you train by them all, man, you work stiff. These guys were like straight shooting. Like, I'm like, what the hell, And we take a break. My partner, you know, we're both big jacked up guys. I said, man, what do we do here? These guys are trying to kill us. He goes, I don't know, man, but I ain't gonna be the bitch. We go back in there. Let's show them how we do it. I was like, man, we're in a different country, man. I don't want to, you know, I want, you know, what, you sure about this? You know, he's like, look, man, I'm not going to be anybody's bitch. He's like, these guys want to, you know, shoot on us and be stiff with us. Let's show them that we can give it right back. I was like, well, this is either going to end epically well or epically bad. You know, so I'm like, all right. So we go in there, man. Get back in the ring with these guys, and it's suplex. I mean, it's just, we're just stiffing the piss, clothesline, you know, stiffing the piss out of them. And, you know, we take another break, and Muda comes over. And Muda's like, you know, he walks over to us. He said, you know, excuse me, guys. Do me a favor. You take it easy on the young boy. And my partner goes, Muda, you tell young boy take it easy on us. And Muda goes, oh, no, they know you shooter now. They know you shooter. Like, you know? So that was a great memory, man. So, you know, like I said, they've got talent at WWE. I don't think they know what to do with it. And, you know, Hunter is one of the best workers out there. Why he's approving this shit, I don't know. You know, I mean, that guy's one of the best workers out there, and he's in that position. But creative comes up with these stupid storylines. Like, speaking of Chelsea Green, I think, sorry, man, she couldn't get over with a forklift. She couldn't get a pop out of a Coke machine. I mean, she's stupid. And the Secret Service gimmick thing is horrible. You know, she can't work, she can't wrestle, she can't promo, and then they stick a stupid gimmick. I mean, it's horrible. You know, I mean, it's absolutely horrible. They got people there that are horrible, and they got people dropping the ball on. Shinsuke Nakamura is who I was going with the original, you know.
Yeah, absolutely.
That guy in Japan was one of the baddest, one of the biggest, that guy was the man, you know. He comes over here, they don't know how to book these guys because they want to go by a formula. And this is what sucks with WWE, and they want you to go by formula. Okay, make sure you hit 2 taunts, do your finisher, make sure he gets 1 comeback, he blows the comeback, then dive over the top rope onto the floor. Like, they have a formula they want you to go by. And in Japan, they're like, okay, he's going over, you're going under, give me 10 minutes, boom. And you do it yourself, you know. But once again, they got these guys, and they're limiting them. That's why Asuka, Shinsuke Nakamura, you know, all these guys that came over, you know, come over from Japan, and they're huge stars in Japan, they get here, and they put the chains on them, you know. Do our formula. Wrestle. Look at Finn Balor, man. That guy was, man, Bullet Club and Finn Balor. Look what they reduced him to. You know? I mean, he's still there, but that guy is, you know, all the stuff they're doing with these writers, you know, is just horrible, man. Like I said, they got the talent there. They're not pushing the right talent, and they're doing the cheesy storylines, which buries us. If I see one more guy in all black with a hoodie coming out there and curb stomping somebody, I'm a fucking puke, man. I mean, come on, man. You know? It's, you know, it's a sad state of affairs. I just think this lazy creative. They've always been lazy, and they've always been horrible, and nothing's changing. So you let wrestlers or guys that, you know, retired wrestlers write these storylines because they understand the business. You're going to get that sports entertainer bullshit, which is horrible, you know?
But you mentioned the people that I feel like they're going to drop the ball on. And I mean, I might be wrong. This is my opinion, you know. Look at Braun Breaker. You put him in the fucking Vision. That's dumb. That guy should be. And look at Obafemi.
Yeah.
Big son of a bitch.
Oh, he's great. I love that guy, man.
Yeah.
I've known Braun since he was a kid. Obviously, working with the Steiner brothers, he'd come to the shows when he was a kid, you know. And, you know, known him from back then, like I see him now, I'm like, that guy, he did it old school way, you know. First of all, why are you calling Braun Breaker? He's a fucking Steiner. Right. Come on, man. I know you want to keep
the fucking Steiner.
Right. I mean, you want to keep the copyrights to the name. That's why they give him these names so WWE can own the rights and all that shit. Mm-hmm. Jesus Christ, man. He's fucking Steiner, man. So he does that, and they got him in this Vision and all that shit that doesn't make sense. Let that guy go out there and be the next Brock Lesnar, because Brock's going to retire soon. He's not going to keep going, man. I mean, he says it himself, you know. And the thing about wrestling, and I've always said this, once again, difference between sports entertainers and wrestlers, legitimacy. When the Road Warriors came out of that curtain, you knew somebody was getting their ass handed to them. Yep. Even if you'd never seen them before in your life, when they walked out, you went, oh, shit. When Brock Lesnar walked out the first time, people went, oh, shit. You know, and the fact that he's proven himself to be legitimate with UFC and all that is another thing. Braun Breaker walked to that curtain in NXT, and people went, oh, shit. So it's, I call it the oh, shit factor, you know. Legitimacy will always override anything else. You know, if people see you and they go, okay, that guy for real is a badass, then you're over. I mean, it's, you know, That simple. People like to see legitimacy. People like to see wrestlers. That's why guys like Brody was over so hard. Stan Hansen, the Road Warriors, the list goes on. Ming Haku, which is one of my very best friends in the business. I love that guy to death. And if you have time, I have a humorous story about Haku if you want to hear it.
Absolutely.
So I'm at WCW and they're repackaging Ming, Haku, it's called Ming at WCW. And this is when he came back out with like the big afro thing or whatever. They were repackaging him. Now he's not friendly, but if he doesn't know you, he doesn't know you, he doesn't really hang out with you, associate with you. I see him in catering and I walk up to him, how are you doing, sir? Pleasure to see you. Thank you. And get the fuck away from him. It's just, he was that way, like you don't know him. So you don't, you wait till he comes to you if he wants to talk to you, Yeah. And I have seen him, oh my God, I've seen him literally kill people. I mean, I've seen him on the road just do things that are unhumanly imaginable, like break out of a set of handcuffs behind his back and pop them and pull them apart. I've seen him inhale pepper spray and laugh. I've seen this shit with my own eyes. The guy, ask anybody in the wrestling business who knows anything about the wrestling business, who's legitimately the toughest guy to ever step foot in the ring. Ming, hands down. Nobody, not even a competition. Not Goldberg, not, fucking Ken Shamrock, no, Ming,
Mm-hmm.
And so there, and Sarge comes up to me and he said, hey, man, I got good news and I got bad news. I'm like, all right, what is it? You got a dark match on Nitro. Oh, awesome. Bump and pay. Fantastic. What's the bad news? You're working Ming. Oh, shit. Like, oh, my God. So, I walk up to him, man. And I've never done anything but say hello to him in catering, pay my respects and get the fuck out the way, And I walk up and I said, excuse me, sir, can I speak with you? He said, what's up, brother? I said, Sarge tells me I'm working with you tonight, sir. Tell me what you want me to do. I'll do everything I can to make you look as good as I can. And he kind of looked at me and he goes, all right, brother, you that thick Samoan accent. You big guy, right? We go out there. We're going to have a good match. You lay it in. Don't give me no pussy shit. You hit me. You lay it in. I'm like, oh, fuck, I'm like, okay. He's like, you big guys going to have a power match, You don't give me no powder puff bullshit. I was like, you lay it in. I was like, okay, yes, sir. Yes, sir. I go back to Sarge. He's like, so what did he say? I'm like, Sarge, he told me to lay it in. He said, you better, he'll kill you. If he told you to do, you better lay it in, So I'm out there going like, am I getting set up for the kill here? What, we go out there. I'm like, okay. So, man, I lay it in. I'm like, well, at least I'll die on my sword, So I lay it in and he lays it in and boy, does he lay it in, But he wasn't trying to hurt me. He's just stiff as piss, And I was giving it right back to him, man. And he sold for me. He gave me heat, all this shit. And we have this match, and he catches me in the goozle, and I sell it shit like I'm on the ground fishing and gurgling. I mean, I'm selling this shit like $1 million, And, he gets back to the curtain. I come back to the curtain, and I'm like, okay, moment of truth. And I'm like, you didn't kill me in the ring. I'm like, everything good, sir? Brother, I love it. I work you anytime, man. Oh, beautiful. I like to lay it. He's like, he looks at stars. I work him anytime I work him, And I got the rub. I got as they call the business, the rub, because if Ming likes you, nobody doesn't like you. You know what I'm saying? If Ming likes you, nobody's not going to like you. 'Cause if you're good with him, you're good with everybody, whether they like you or not. If you're tight with Ming, that's it. You're made. Guys like Mafia, you're a made guy, Yeah. And it just, and the thing I'd say to the guys and girls with this lesson is, I asked him, now we've been friends, but I talk to him like shit every week, And I asked him, I said, brother, let me ask you a question. I said, why didn't you kill me? I mean, I've seen you kill guys. Why did I, why was I the lucky one? And he said, brother, I watch you when you first get there. I see you a show. You walk around to everybody before you put on your boots and you pay respect. Cameraman, referee, makeup artist, the boys, you pay respect to everyone. And I see you at the end of the show. You thank everyone, referee, light guys, camera guy. You walk around and thank everybody. You show respect to everyone. That means a lot to me. There you go. The fact he didn't kill me is because I was so respectful to people. And, guys don't understand. I tell these guys, while you're doing all these moves and shit, you got to learn how the business works. It's called a business for a reason. And it's not just moves. Like if you don't have any business savvy or how the business works, it'll be a short ride, I mean, and I learned my history, man. I can go back to Cowboy Frankie Lane and Dennis Condrey. I can go to George Hackenschmidt if you want. I know my history because I care enough about the business to learn it. And case in point, an example. We were at WCW when Larry Zbyszko was a commentator. And The Wall, Jerry Toot, who passed away, great guy, big giant guy. He's out there with Alex Wright, Berlin, when they were doing like the German gimmick or whatever. And The Wall's 7 feet tall, I'm a big guy. We're in, hometown of Atlanta, Georgia, and they're having what they call a spot where he's beating up some guy, and a bunch of baby faces run down the room to the ring to save him, like power plant guys, a couple of mid-card guys, whatever. And he's going to wreck them all. As soon as they hit the ring, choke slam, big boot, choke slam. And, it's a kill spot, man. I mean, it's a squash spot, and they're like, okay, we got some guy. We need a big guy. We need some big guys, somebody out there to make, the fans think or whatever. And I said, I'll do it. The Sarge kind of hit me, and I was like, he's like, oh, man, dude, it's a job spot, man. I said, will he get the segment over, Sarge? And he said, well, yeah, a guy like you, yeah, I'll get it over. You get him over. And I said, I'm here to get the show over. He looked at me and said, man, I'm proud. Okay, So it was the deal was all these guys were going to come down the ramp and, get job, boom, boom, boom. My music hits, and I come down the ramp, legitimacy. They see me, and they go, oh, here's the guy that's going to whoop his ass, So I run down to the ring, man. I slide in, and I go running with a clothesline. He ducks, comes back, catches me to choke slams me over the top rope, through a table onto the floor. That was my spot in my hometown, and it was literally the crowd. I've never heard a pop go from this to that. Literally, it was like, hey, oh, it was that quick, and I'm selling whatever. And we get back there, the guys are ribbing me like, oh man, nice spot. You sure to get, and they're all ribbing me and shit because I took the biggest bump anyway. Most guys call it a boot or a choke slam. I took the big one, I'm the biggest guy down there. And they're giving me shit and, all this stuff and making the jokes and ribs. And Larry comes around the corner. Goth, my boy, I am proud of you. You stepped up. You got the show over. You put your ego aside. You got the segment over. You got Jerry over. He said, you're a guy that I will work with anytime. He said, the rest of you assholes could learn something from him. Boom, respect. So it goes a long way, man. And just knowing how to conduct yourself in the right situation. I always put the show before my own ego. I always do what's best for the show. I always do what's best to get the show over, the segment over, whatever it may be. I mean, I'm not going to do some stupid shit that they tell me to do if it's creative and some dumb shit, But, a lot of guys are in for their own ego. They're in it for their own, I got guys that walk up to me now in shows that have been in the business for a cup of coffee, Hey, man, I'm working you tonight, and check this out. I thought we start off, we go lock up, and I'll do a, inverted Frankensteiner into a tornado DDT, into a Canadian pile driver, into a vertebraker. Then you kick out on one, then I'll do a hurricane. I'm like, whoa, stop. We're not doing any of that shit. None of it. Well, why not? I'm like, number one, makes no fucking sense whatsoever. Number two, I'm fucking 4 times your size. Number three, my fucking knee pads have more ring time than you do. So here's what's going to happen. We're going to go out there. You're going to do exactly what I tell you to do. I'm going to tell you what to do. You're not going to add, not going to subtract, take away. You're going to do exactly what I tell you to do. And you'll have a great match you can be proud of. Or you could go the other route, and I can just beat the fuck out of you for 15 minutes. I get paid either way. And these guys are like, what? What? That's just the way it is. Like, back in my day, man, I worked Bullet Bob Armstrong. Probably I was 2 years into the business when I worked Bullet Bob. My response to him was, hello, sir. Good to see you. I'm working you tonight. Let me know what you want me to do, boss. Just let me know. I'll make you look as good as I can. 15 years later. I mean, I worked Bob, many times through the years. 15 years later, I'm, a veteran now. Earned my time, did my thing, got resume, whatever. I worked Bob 15 years later for the first time. Hello, sir. Good to see you, Bob. How's your dad? He's doing well, Bob. How's your family? Doing good. Sir, I'm working you tonight. Let me know what you want me to do, boss. Yeah. 15 years later. And I always had a great match with him. Always had a great match. Did Bob take a spinning power bomb? No. Did Bob take a, spine buster? No. He didn't take my shit. But we had a great match, and he sold for me because everybody's different. And that's what these guys understand. They want to email each other the spots a week before the match and rehearse it. Like, you duck 2 punches, I'll super kick you 6 times. And you do. And they got these guys just choreograph it out, And they don't understand that shit can change on the fly, I've been in the ring before and had 12 minutes and got cut to 3 because somebody went overtime on an interview or whatever. So all that shit you rehearsed, out the window. You go out there, you're supposed to be the heel, I'm supposed to be the baby face. The crowd ain't buying it. They're, cheering the heel, booing the face. You got to flip it. You got to flip it that quick. Hogan and Rock, WrestleMania in Canada. Prime example. Hogan was the heel, Rock was the hero babyface, and they booed the Rock out of the building. You got to learn how to change. And here's another thing. You go to Mexico or Japan and you're working the guy. Chances are he doesn't speak English. So now what? You're going to call spots to him, email him your spots, go over 100 things? No. You got to call on the fly. You got to go by body language. All these things that these guys and girls now aren't trained to do because a lot of times they're trained by some shit trainer. It's some taking advantage of them. And I always tell guys and girls this. If you're going to get trained in the business, Go to somebody who's actually done something in the business. If you go, I got trained by, Johnny Lightning. Who the fuck is that? What's he ever? If he didn't get himself over the business, how is he going to get you over? Right. Find a reputable trainer like Jazz and Rodney have a wrestling school, or the Lance Storm, or who guys that have actually done something in the business. Because who trains you is your pedigree. Like it speaks volumes. Who were you trained by? Mikey Go Getter. Who the fuck is that? Right. I was trained by Lance Storm. Oh, I was trained at the power plant by Sarge, my father, Rod. So there's a big difference. And these, kids are like, they're trained wrong. They want to do 16 acrobatic finishers and can't run, tackle, drop down, hit loss, headlock, kick out, get it again. I've done seminars where literally like they flip it off the top rope and doing all this shit and cartwheels. I'm like, all right, guys, okay, you want me to do this? No. What I want you to do is lock up, literally. I want you to, tackle, drop down, hit toss, headlock takeover, kick out, get it again. They don't know how to do it. One of the most basic timing spots to get your timing down. It's like elementary wrestling school. Okay. They don't know who's taking the bump on the tackle. They don't know who's grabbing the headlock. They don't know because they're lost. They've been so busy practicing every finisher they can find in the book and every spinning corkscrew moonsault, but they can't run a fucking spot, and it has a lot to do with that. I mean, people look at you to get a job, are the veterans. I mean, yeah, these guys will slip through there, do acrobats and all that. But I try to tell you, like, Steve Carino's the guy looking at you. Shawn Michaels is the guy looking at you. These guys are the veterans. Arn Anderson, they're looking at you. And you go out there with some stupid shit, guy can't work. Next. So it's things like that. You have to have a trainer that's going to educate you in the business and how it works, the psychology. And if they've never made it in the business themselves, then obviously they didn't have that to begin with. So what are they going to do for you?
Exactly.
You got more time? You got time? I got a lot to ask.
Man, I got all night, brother. I'm jacked up. I'm ready to go, man.
All right. I just have to ask, you talk about people, real workers are real shoot people. And I had the opportunity to meet one of the Wild Samoans, Samu. Did you have any experience with those? Are those as tough son of a bitches as they seem to be on everything I see?
Man, I have worked so many Samoans. First of all, they're all cousins with The Rock. Somehow, some way, they're all related to The Rock. I tell you that right now. Ming's related to him. They're all related to The Rock. But I've been in the ring with different Samoans throughout the years, and from Ming, Haku to all these different guys. And I have never been in a ring with a Samoan that was not talented, that was not legitimately tough, that was not an incredible worker. Whatever the reason being, any Samoan, and that Samoan dynasty, I've been in the ring with a lot of them. I never had a bad match. I never, had a complaint. And those guys are smooth as silk. They can all work. They can all get over, and they're all there to do business. I've never had a bad match with anybody that was Samoan ever. And yes, they are legitimately fucking tough. I mean, they really are. It's something in their DNA, whatever. I don't know what it is, but every one of those guys is legit. And every one of those guys can work because they take pride in their work. They're wrestlers, not sports entertainers. Yeah, Rikishi did the thing with the ass and all. I mean, I get that sports entertainment, but Rikishi can also work. Look what Rikishi did before he was ever Rikishi. Look at his history, So, those guys, man, they're gifted. It's like a wrestling gene or something. I don't know what it is, man, but those guys are gifted. Nothing but respect for anybody in the Samoan dynasty. I'm friends with most of those guys and worked a lot of them. Every one of them is top of the tier entertainment, man. Top tier wrestler, So
we're going to take a break from wrestling. And we're going to talk this. Shotgun Savior time.
Yeah, man. All right.
I have to give it to you, man. I know this is what you've been wanting to talk about. I have a feeling.
Oh, man, I talk about anything, man. Shotgun Savior is my band. We are a heavy metal band from New Orleans, Louisiana, by way of Atlanta, Georgia. And how this came to be, as I mentioned before, I was in hair bands. I was, a band guy forever before I got into wrestling. Well, once I realized where my bread was buttered, the band thing was no longer there. I mean, I'd sit at home and play in the living room and jam with friends or whatever, but I knew who my bread was buttered. I knew what my career was. And I was happy with that. And fast forward, through, 29 years in the business, I've met musicians, I've met management companies, I've met producers. I mean, I meet a who's who of the entertainment, because entertainment business is all the same. Wrestling, actors, musicians, it's all, meshed in there, Celebrities will come to the wrestling matches, they go backstage and meet them, and business people. So for 29 years, I'm meeting all these people, all this, building contacts. And my friend Chris Jericho comes out with Fozzy, and it takes off, and Chris was never a musician before Fozzy. He never played in a band. He never, sang in a band. We would have, he's a heavy metal historian. Him and I would have hours and hours of talking about obscure metal bands from Germany and Sweden, or Loudness, or, all these bands, nobody knew who the fuck they were. We were talking about them. And Chris knows his metal, And his guitar player, Rich Ward, has been best friends with me since high school. We went to high school together. We worked together, went to concerts together. So I have a strong connection with those guys, I've known them all for years. Well, fast forward, as years are, going through, I start getting little bits and pieces of, hey, man, you should do like Chris and start a band. You've actually played in bands. It'd be nice, man. But, like I said, I'm doing the wrestling thing. It's, where I make my money. Yeah, but those conversations turned into different management companies coming to me and said, hey, man, you're really marketable. If you do a music thing, we'd like to see it. And, hey, man, you guys are, if you ever thought of something, because they liked my showmanship, and I was like, oh, so now people that actually can make some wheels turn, that can actually have a chance to, make money in this, and like, wow, you mean I could maybe do this as, something, instead of wrestling or whatever. So through all these contacts I made through the years, and all these friends I made through the years that were saying, we want to see it, we want to back it, we'll consider managing you, this and that. I said, you know what, man, fuck it, why not, I love music. I've always loved it. It's always been my passion. It's never went away. And I said, you know what? If these people really want to see something from me, why not? I'll shoot for the moon, man. And, I put together Shotgun Savior. And it was, it started off, man, it was a long, hard road, man. It was not, being in a band is not easy. You got to find other guys you get along with. You can play. It's very hard, It's like a 4-way marriage or a 5-way marriage. I mean, it's really hard, So I met this guy. And through other musicians and people in and out the door, I met this guy, and he stayed with me for several years. He was a guitar player, and he could play bass, he could play guitar, could play piano. He's one of those guys, So we were trying to put together this thing called Shotgun Savior. So we recorded these songs in his studio, in his house. He had a nice studio in his house. We're recording these songs. Well, lo and behold, Mikey Thunder, a drummer, comes out and auditions, and he's in the band for a minute. Mikey left due to whatever reasons Mikey left. I mean, nothing bad. I think he had some personal shit going on, or the work was too much for his business. I don't know what it was, but the timing wasn't right. So he, gracefully bowed out. No hard feelings. Good guy. And, it's like, okay, so me and this guy are just writing music, writing songs. We're like, fuck it, man. If they like us, they'll hire a band for us. If you're good enough and a label likes you, a management company likes you, they'll find you players. I mean, they've done it before. Skid Row had no idea who Sebastian Bach was when he joined the band. He was in Canada, but the record company said, love your band, hate your singer. Love your singer, hate your band. Boom. So it's one of those things. So I knew being in the business, that wouldn't be a problem. So we're doing this or whatever. And we're going along, and other than recording and writing songs, we're really not having luck with band members, because people aren't, once again, how bad do you want? Well, I don't want to drive 45 minutes to practice. You mean you want to practice 3 nights a week? Whiny ass, how bad you fucking want it? Nobody wants to pay the price, man. Everybody wants to be a fucking rock star sitting at home on the couch. It ain't going to happen. So I've got that work ethic from wrestling, and nobody wants to put in the work. Nobody. So we're having a hard time finding other members. So we said, fuck it. Between the two of us, we'll use a drum machine. You play the bass and the guitar. I'll play some guitar. I'll sing. We'll do it. We'll be a 2-man band. We fucking hollow notes of heavy metal, So we're doing this. Lo and behold, I meet this amazing woman that comes into my life, and, my girlfriend at the time, my wife now, and, I meet her and whatever, we start going out, and, long story short, she says, oh, I play guitar, because I told her I was a musician. And I'm thinking, oh, cute. She knows a few chords. She could probably, well, it's Taylor Swift girl. She can play some chords. How cute is that, And first time she goes over to my house, I'm like, I'm going to wow her with my guitar prowess. I'm going to woo her with my amazing ability, And she comes in and I play guitar. I've been playing since like 15, man. I mean, I don't suck, but, so I play and I'm trying to like show off and impress her. And she's like, well, that's really good. Do you mind if I play? No, go right ahead. And she put on the guitar and my jaw hit the fucking ground. I was like, what the fuck? Like, holy shit. Not only was she fucking good, she was fucking amazing. Like, I've been playing with guitar players and all that, being a guitar player my whole life. I've never seen. And I'll say it because she's my old lady. You listen to her, you know.
Oh,
It
yeah.
ain't bragging if you back it up. And she in my living room, and she gets done, and I'm just sitting there. She goes, "Well, what do you think?" I said, "I think I'm going to play bass." You know, like fuck, you know. And at the time, you know, the guy was in our band. I said, "Hey, man, my girlfriend plays guitar," and I didn't want to be like that guy. Like, "Hey, my girlfriend plays guitar." I was just like, "Hey, man, she plays guitar." He said, "Really? She good?" I said, "Here, I'll play some videos. You tell me." And he watches. He's like, "Holy shit! Oh fuck! Really?" And I'm like, "Yeah. What do you think?" He said, "I think we need to have a new guitar player in this band." He was a guitar player. I think she needs to be the other guitar player. I'm like, "Really?" Because I don't want to be that guy. Like, "Hey, can my girlfriend be in the band?" He was like, "No, dude. Please ask her to be in the band." So she joins the band, and it was him, me, and her. And we start recording, and a whole new life gets breathed into the band, like a whole new, you know, elevation. Before we were, you know, Guns N' Roses, AC/DC, you know, Jackal, Kiss, whatever, you know, good stuff. We were basically a, you know, metal band, but on that kind of level, you know. My wife joins, and we go from, you know, Guns N' Roses and, you know, whatever, and, you know, docking to fucking, you know, Pantera, Metallica. Like my wife comes in, chilling a Bodum, and she's just fucking. I mean, the guy who was with me was a phenomenal player, man. He really was. I give him the devil's credit when it's due, but he couldn't even keep up with her. He was just like, "Holy, what are you doing? Like, show me. Let me practice." I mean, she was just insane, you know. So,
Do you mind if I stop you for a second?
Right.
I want everybody to hear what you're talking about. Okay. I really
Okay.
do. I really do.
That is my amazing wifey, lead guitar player for Shotgun Savior, Willow Manson. That's her, man.
That is incredible.
Dude, I mean, like I said, man, people, it's hard, you know, people understand like, "Oh, he's putting her over because that's her." No, you know, so she joins the band, and, you know, lo and behold, you know, this guy that was with us before left. You know, it just wasn't something he was, once again, how bad do you want it? He didn't want to commit to the full ride. We started talking about going out on tour, doing this and that. He wasn't ready to make that big step. And through the years, I made really good friends with a lot of guys in the music business. I'm good friends with Zach Wild, who I love Zach to death. We've been friends for years, you know. And I'm really good friends with all the guys in Crowbar, Kirk and Matt, and all those guys in Crowbar, like super good friends with them, you know, Fozzy, whoever. And the first time I showed Kirk, my wife, he literally went, "Holy shit, is that really her?" I'm like, "That's really her, Kirk." He's like, "Are you fucking kidding me?" I'm like, "No." He's like, "Bro, I've been friends with you for decades. I played with them all. I played with Dime. I played with Zach." He's like, you know, he's in Crowbar and down with Phil from Pantera. I mean, he's seen him and played with them all, man, you know. And Kirk himself is a freaking phenomenal guitar player. He said, "Bro, that girl is a prodigy. Holy shit. She's like Dimebag." And I was like, "Wow," you know, and, you know, like, holy shit, you know. And I showed a video to Zach, and Zach's like, he calls her the Shredder now. Like, he's like, "Holy shit, what's Shredder?" He's like, "Hey, how's the Shredder? What's up with the Shredder?" You know. And for guys like that to acknowledge her, that are the best of the best of the best, you know. And anybody who sees her, man, it's just like, you know, it ain't me bragging of, like, because I'm putting my wife over, man. She backs it up with talent. You know, she is something special. And, you know, we go to Guitar Center, man. Funny little quick story. I plug in and play. 2 or 3 people, "Hey, man, you're pretty good. That's some cool stuff." I'm like, you know, 2 or 3 people. She starts playing. They're coming in from the fucking warehouse. They're pulling out their video phones. I mean, I'm her opening act, you know. I mean, pretty much, you know. And she joins, and we just, you know, just took on a whole new life, man, a whole new version of the band. Well, lo and behold, Mikey Thunder comes back into play. He reaches out to me and says, "Hey, man, I've seen what you're doing. You're out there trying to put the band together. I've heard the songs. I want to be a part of it." I said, "Okay, man, if you come back." I literally told him this. I said, "I know you left the first time because it wasn't the right timing or whatever. I said, but this is a serious thing, man. I'm doing, an EPK, digital promotional kit, for all these different people, management companies, label companies. Like, this is serious, man. This ain't just fucking guys jamming in a garage. If you come back and we work you in and you learn the songs and you bail out on me, I said, I'll kick the shit out of you. I love you, but fuck you. If you leave, I will beat your ass. And he's like, no, man, I'm in. And true to his name, Mikey has promoted this band. He's a promotion machine. He's brought so much attention to us. He is aces. Plus, he's a John Bonham, beat the shit out of the drums kind of guy. So we're missing the last factor, the bass player. I don't want to play bass. I can, but I don't want to play bass because I want to run around, jump off shit, burn shit. I want to be the front man. I don't want to be tied down to it. I play rhythm guitar when my wife lets me, and I play slide guitar because she doesn't play that. And other than that, I want to be a front man, entertain. And we found a bass player, Sean McMaster, and this guy is, he was playing in different bands, Voltage Head and Metallica tribute band, and this and that. And the guy's a phenomenal bass player, man. Geezer Butler, Steve Harris style. And we added the missing piece to the puzzle, man. And since then, we have been kicking ass and taking names. I'm so thankful. We have blown up, man. Fans, we've got over 1,000 followers on Facebook. We've got, all these different numbers on, TikTok and Instagram and all these amazing numbers. And I'm so thankful we have taken off like wildfire. To begin, the fan base was wrestling fans. Love them. They're very loyal. If they like you, if you write a cookbook, they'll buy it. And I love them for that. So originally, this was just wrestling fans that love the band. Well, it grew and grew and grew and grew. And now, with the point to where we're getting out there on all kinds of podcasts and radio stations, and this and that, it's blowing up, man. I could not be happier. We've been very fortunate to have the response we've had. And now we're in the process. We've got 2 videos, God of Thunder, which is a Kiss remake, and we've got Savage Brutality, which you will play on the show. And our YouTube channel, it's got all our songs, even if they're like a picture of it, has a picture, but it plays the whole song. We got 12, 13 songs up on YouTube. We've got a bunch of promos I've done, my wife has done on YouTube. Our 2 videos are on YouTube. We also have Facebook, Shotgun Savior. And, it's just blowing up, man. We're talking to different people. And so we're doing the demo, for lack of better words. And when that's complete, everybody that ever said, hey, man, if you do something, I want to see it. I want to hear it. I want to do it. You got it. I was years ago in Atlanta, I was in a band called Hallows Eve. They were a thrash band in Atlanta, had a record deal on Metal Blade Records. Now, I was not the original singer. I came in after the original singer, but they were still on the contract with Metal Blade. I got to meet Brian Slagle, who owns Metal Blade. They got Slayer on their, roster. They got, Gore. All, some big bands on their roster. And I called, Brian up and I said, hey, man, a long time to see. I'm doing a music thing. We've always got along, et cetera, et cetera. And I sent him the video for God of Thunder. And he was like, wow. He's like, what are you doing? I said, well, I'm trying to get together, a digital press kit. He said, when you do, send me the first one. Okay. He's like, your band, is great. And I talked to Kirk, and Kirk's been my friend for years from Crowbar. He's not going to blow smoke up my ass. He said, he said, bro, if it sucked, I'd be like, hey, man, as long as you're having fun, but he's already said, man, come on the road with us, do some dates with us when you're ready. Your band is awesome. I love the way you sing. Your wife is incredible. Zach, everybody has been so positive and so, reassuring. These are people in the business that aren't going to tell you what you want to hear, not to hurt your fucking feelings. They don't care. It's a business, like wrestling. And now that we actually it's come full circle, and I have the chance to actually have a career in music, it's like a dream come true, man. I have achieved MMA, I've achieved wrestling. Now I get to go back to where it all started with music, and it's phenomenal, man. I have the greatest band. I have the greatest musical and life partner. Shotgun Savior is blowing up, man. I always say, we're the, the soundtrack to the revolution, because we're not just a band. And I tell people this, we don't have fans, we have family. That's the way we look at it. We don't care what your religious preferences are or lack thereof. I don't care what side of the fence you're on politically. I don't care if you're gay, straight, but I don't care. None of that matters. We accept everyone. We accept everyone with open arms to embrace the music. We're trying to put the human mojo back into music, man. So many things are auto-tune and processed cheese whiz, and the guys in the band don't even see each other when they're recording albums. They're all mail in their tracks or whatever. We're trying to go old school, man. When the Eagles recorded Hotel California, they recorded that song live. They did 6 takes, and they took the best one. And that's what we're trying to, that human element. Now, Stairway to Heaven, when Jimmy Page kind of slides his finger across the strings, you hear that kind of scraping noise, they would edit that out today. They'd be, oh, no, but that's those little nuances is what makes it, the human spirit, man. And we're trying to do the like Black Label Society does it, Zach, with his, the Atlanta chapter, Detroit chapter. It's all chapters, Motorcycle clubs have been doing it for years. They have different chapters in different states. KISS did it with KISS Army. When you were growing up, if you were that freaky kid, that outcast, parents didn't understand you. If you saw another kid with a KISS t-shirt on, man, KISS Army, you had an ally. You had a brother in arms. You had, and we're trying to recreate that. It's not just music, but it's a musical family. When Zach did Berserkers a while back at the Poconos, his big music festival he did with Cody Jinks and some other Clutch and some other bands, I went there, and it was like a gigantic family picnic. Nobody was getting into fights. Nobody was being disrespectful to anybody. If it was really hot outside, if you were overheating somebody, hey, I got some water in my cooler, brother. Hey, man, you hungry? I got some, it really was like a family thing, man. It was so cool, And I was like, that's what I want to do with this, If you misunderstood or your parents don't get you or, you're that weird outcast, like, we're here for you, man. We're the island of misfit toys. Join us, and that's the way we look at it, man. And we're just out there. I always say we're making rock and roll dangerous again, man. We are Southern Gothic swamp metal. A little bit of Allman Brothers, a little bit of Judas Priest, a little bit of Sisters of Mercy. I mean, it's all meshed in there, whatever. And, we're just out there trying to bring music, especially heavy metal, rock and roll, back to what it used to be when it meant something and it made you want to put your fist in the air and it spoke to you and, it touched your soul. I always say, man, before I met my dad and I got older, my childhood was god awful horrible. It was just really bad, and I had to have an escape. Music was the lullaby that put the demons in my head to sleep. Music was my escape. And we want to be that for some. Hopefully nobody has to use it for that. And I wouldn't wish that on anybody, but we want to be able for you to escape if your life is the way you want it to, or just to forget about the world for a couple of hours. Come to one of our shows and we're going to give you more bang in the buck than anybody. I believe in the KISS theory, man. Like you give people way more than, you don't budget cut. Like you give them a show, a performance, not just a bunch of guys standing around looking at the shoes, strumming a guitar. You put on a performance, and we're trying to just revolutionize the way music has gotten because it's just all, AI, this and that. And we're, for people that play music that have a passion for it. My wife never doesn't have a guitar in her hand ever. We're always, what's next? So, we're not just a band, man. We're really trying to create, a movement, something that means something to people, like with the KISS Army or Black Label Society chapters. We're trying to make this, a thing of relevance in the music business to actually shake it up and change it and put some rebellion back into it, put some attitude back into it, make it dangerous again, man.
That's awesome, man. And you mentioned Judas Priest. I heard there's a Judas Priest story.
Oh, Jesus Christ. You've been talking to my wife, haven't you?
Maybe.
Oh man, okay.
I mean,
we do a Judas Priest. We do a cover of Judas Priest song called "Love Bites." So that we love Judas Priest. Rob Halford is one of my all-time. My favorite frontmen are, Rob Halford, Paul Stanley, Alice Cooper, and Elvis Presley. Those are my top Mount Rushmore. Whatever. So as a kid, back in the hairband days, I was a dead ringer for Nikki Sixx. Believe it or not, same height, same weight, same crazy jacked up black haystack hair. I mean, literally everywhere I go, people think I was him. I looked like him. It wasn't like, oh, that guy looks a little. No, people thought I was him everywhere I went. So we go see Judas Priest on the Turbo Lover tour. Me and my roommates, and everybody's thinking I'm him. We're at the Omni in Atlanta, Georgia, and everybody's like, oh, it's Nikki Sixx. Well, my roommates think it's funny to say, oh, yeah, that's him. Look, oh, there's Nikki Sixx. And I'm like, man, no, dude, stop. And it's getting like wildfire, dude. Like, it's just people like, no, man, I know you are. Don't be an asshole. Sign it autograph. I'm like, I'm not him. Man, come on, please. Dude, what are you doing? I'm like, I'm not him, and it's getting out of control. So I'm like, deny. Well, being a young man of about, 19 years old, all of a sudden, this tattletales stripper, porn star, girl walks up and goes, are you Nikki Sixx? I have always wanted to be with you. Yes, I am Nikki Sixx. I'm Jimmy Page. I'm Angus. I'm whoever the fuck you want me to be, because at like 19 years old, I never had ass like that. Hey, this girl's like porn star. I mean, just the whole thing, stripper, blonde, big. I'm like, holy shit, this is never dreamed I'd be able to go. I'm like, Yes, I'm him. Yeah, I'm David Roth, whoever.
Me. That's me. That's me.
So I'm like thinking to myself, now, when this concert is over, how am I going to explain to her that I'm driving a Buick Regal? Like, how am I going to, and I'm thinking like, I'll tell her I'm staying with my cousin and I borrowed his car. And, I'm trying to think of all this shit, and she's like, yeah, we after the show, let's go back to my place. I'm like, okay, I'll tell my roommate, here's the keys, drive my car. I'm going with her, if I give you my keys, whatever. So I'm like, I'm going to pull this off. I am going to pull this off, We're walking out the door. And this guy comes up to me with all these passes and shit. He's like, hey, Nikki, hold on. I'm like, He goes, hey, I'm Judas Priest road manager. The guys heard you were here. They want you to come backstage. Oh, shit, And I'm like, well, we should probably, I want to meet him. Please, can we go back and meet Judas Priest? And, then we'll go back to my place and have fun all night. But I want to meet the band. Okay. So I go back there knowing like the gig is up. Like they're going to look at me, who the fuck are you, So I go back there and they open the door and Rob's like, Nikki, how you doing, mate? And they hug me and, and they start talking to me and they never caught it, And I'm like, whew, okay, maybe I am going to get through this, So I'm like, and Glenn Tipton, the guitar player, goes, hey, man, we're thinking about taking Slayer out on the road with us. Do you think that's a good idea? They're kind of heavy. I was like, well, you guys are heavy. It would be like the new versus the old. It'd be, I told us, well, lo and behold, I don't know if it was because of me, but they did take Slayer on tour. I don't know if I had anything to do with it or not, but, I'm giving Glenn Tipton advice on touring. I'm a fucking 19-year-old kid. And I'm just trying to get out of there, man. I'm just like, oh, my God, can I just get out of here? So we're finally, and they believe it, and they never question it, and finally we're getting ready to leave and walking out. Well, this other porn star, tattletales dancer walks in. Who knows this girl? She's like, hey, Bambi or whatever her name is. What are you doing? She says, oh, Dad, I'm hanging out with Nikki Sixx. And she goes, that's not Nikki Sixx. And she's like, what? I'm like, yes, I am. She's like, no, you're not. And I was like, who the hell are you? You don't know who I am. And she's like, what do you mean? That's him. And she's like, that is not him. I was like, who the hell are you? What do you know? She's like, well, I'm fucking Vince Neil. I met Nikki Sixx and you're not him. And I'm like, oh shit, And she works with this girl. She's like, what do you mean? She says, girl, I've been seeing Vince comes in the club. I've been Nikki. They've come, I've been to their hotel room. That's not him, And man, I'm trying to do like the crab walk, the Homer Simpson, disappear into the shrubs. I'm trying to get the fuck out of there. And so I wound up like, while they're arguing, I kind of crab walk out the side. I'm like, fuck, whatever. So it didn't work out. Well, lo and behold, man, we're going like 10 years later, whatever. And there's this girl, there's hair bands in Atlanta, hair band clubs. Danny's and Charlie McGrew is like the biggest hair band clubs in Atlanta. We all hung out there, same circles or whatever. Well, there was this girl and she was, this hot stripper girl or whatever. Lo and behold, we know each other from the scene. And one night we wind up, making magic. And she comes back to, my place and, all that kind of good stuff. And, next morning, we're laying in bed and she's like, you do look a lot like Nikki Sixx. She's like, I think it's funny. People, think you're him. God, you do look a lot like him. I'm like, oh yeah. She goes, I got this story for you. I was at this Judas Priest concert one night and this guy was my friend saying he was Nikki Sixx. And I'm like, really? And she's telling me like, she used to tell me the story. And I'm like, well, I got something to tell you. She's like, what? I said, I'm that guy. She's like, what? I'm like, Judas Priest, Turbo Lover Tour. I told her, she's like, oh my God. I said, you might have cock blocked me 15 years ago, but you just paid the price. There's your receipt, So
that's awesome.
15 years later, I tag her because I didn't get it back then. So, that's a funny story, just, shit like that, man. You can't make it up,
That's awesome. Well, thank your wife for that story.
Thank you, honey. Thank you.
That's entertaining. That was the most entertaining story I've heard all night.
Oh man, my life between rocking and wrestling, the adult entertainment. I've seen. He said I'm gonna write a book one day because I've had so many chapters in my book, man. Hairband days, music. Then we jumped before that, adult entertainment, which is a fucking volume in itself. Then the hairbands, then wrestling, then back to the band. It's so many chapters that I've been so fortunate to do and see things, and that most people will never have the opportunity to do, man. And people say they go to Japan. That's I'll never forget that. It's one of those things where my life has afforded me a lot of things, experiences that normal people probably would not have, and it ain't all been good, it ain't all been bad. There's been some times like holy shit, and there's been some times like, man, this is awesome. And people in the wrestling business, like there are very few people that make it to the level of Hulk Hogan and The Rock. That is like 1%, man. Very few people. And I always tell people like, man, I might not have been on top of the mountain, but the summit I was standing on, view was pretty fucking good, Yeah,
absolutely. So I'm going to finish the show with some like real quick shoot questions.
Sure, love
But
to.
I want to ask you this. I would like to invite you and your wife on a different podcast, another podcast,
Absolutely.
and talk about Shotgun Savior and the world of music. Set aside from, and I have no clue on music, so it's going to be entertaining for me to listen to you.
Man,
guys.
we would love to. We'd absolutely thank you so much. We'd absolutely love to. She does all the music podcasts with me. She's my partner in crime. She's my,
I would love to hear you guys. I'd love to sit down with you guys.
Yeah, she's got some stories too, and she's got her own thing that she brings to the table. And and I always tell people, like, the thing with us is with Shotgun Savior, we're so this. First of all, not trying to put myself over. There's nobody like me. There's just not. Not what I bring to the table. And you're never ever going to go wrong with a hot chick that plays guitar in a band. It's never going to not go over ever.
Not. Yeah, we ought to have 1 million views.
Oh man, she does, like, I'll do a promo video. Oh, you get 3,000 views for your promo. Okay, she does a guitar thing at 27,000 views.
Right.
Ridiculous, man.
Right.
But I get it. I'm thankful for her, man. She writes. We write all the music. I do all the lyrics. I'm not saying that Mikey and Sean don't contribute musically, but generally, like, we'll come up with the foundation of a song, the chords, this and that. And I'll come up with lyrics. We'll take it to those guys. Mikey adds his touch. Sean adds his touch. We all do it together. It's musically, we all do it. But I do the lyrics. But initially, it starts with her and I writing the song. She's my musical partner. She's my partner in life. And at first, man, I was worried. I'm like, oh shit, is this going to be a Buckingham Nicks kind of thing? Oh fuck, because it's hard, man. I mean, hard enough in a relationship. You put a working relationship and a relationship in the same thing, man. Oh fuck, But we butted heads and it was, a lot. It was like someone like, is this going to work? And we persevered through it, and we understood each other. And somehow during all that, boom, lightning in a bottle, and we just started clicking and writing songs, and writing music. And so I'm very, very fortunate to have her not only as a partner in life, but a musical partner as well. I mean, I'm very fortunate. All the guys in my band are top tier talent. I'm very lucky to play with such amazing musicians.
Bill, do you need to go? You need to go, Bill? I think Bill's going to exit stage left. Do you need to take off?
Yeah, I got to go get my dad some work.
All right, man. We'll see you next Wednesday.
Oh, thank you, brother. It's a pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Great stories, man. I'll catch you guys
Thank
soon.
you, brother. Thank you so much.
Have a good night, guys.
You too, man.
Good night, brother.
Peace out.
Peace out.
So I got several just quick questions for you.
Yeah, man. I got all night, brother. Go right ahead.
What's the worst piece of advice you ever got?
Worst piece of advice. Don't get in the wrestling business. You'll never make it. You're not big enough. You're getting too much of a late start. Guys out there are better than you. Like, don't waste your time with wrestling. You'll never make it.
Okay. Who's the closest friend in the industry?
Closest friend, what?
In the industry, in the business today.
Wrestling and music.
Wrestling.
Closest friend, man, God. Probably my partner Rage. I mean, from Dominion. I mean, Rage is my partner. He's a great guy. So in the business, definitely my partner, Rage, man. Absolutely my best friend in the business.
What about in the musical business?
Kirk from Crowbar. I love Zach. We're good friends. I've got a lot of friends in the music business. Ed Rowland from Collective Soul and Rich from Fozzy and all that. I mean, I've got a lot of friends in the music business. I love them all. But Kirk and I are really close, like twin brothers of different mothers. We met in New Orleans, where I'm from. I was down there training to wrestle. And he was in the French Quarter, and I saw him. I'm being a music. I'm like, hey, man, can I ask you a question? He's like, yeah. Are you singing for Crowbar? He's like, guilty as charged. And we started talking. From that day, we have had a friendship that has lasted decades, and Kurt has been the biggest supporter of our band. He's willing to open doors for us and help us out. So best friend in music, Kurt Weinstein from Crowbar, without a doubt.
That was a trick question, man.
Okay.
You should have said Willow Medulla.
Well, she's my boss. There's a difference. If Kurt's my friend, she's my boss. Big difference there.
There's a big difference. Your Mount Rushmore of wrestlers.
That's 4 guys, right? I'm trying to. Okay, Mount Rushmore. Undertaker, Road Warrior Animal, my father, and Bruiser Brody.
All right, good deal. What's the best arena you've ever worked in?
Man, Phillips Arena in Atlanta, Georgia, the night Bill Goldberg versus Hulk Hogan for the title. I had a dark match, 60,000 people, and by that time I'd worked my way up. The people knew who I was. Back then it was different, man. Power plant, it wasn't like NXT now we're on TV. You were a power plant guy. You did dark matches, you did house shows. If you got on the main roster, it was a slow, they would take a group of power plant guys. Okay, let's push the first group through to see who sinks and who swims. Okay, when we filter that out, how many guys made it, how many guys didn't, let's do the next group. So it was different. Like you had to earn your stripes for house shows and dark matches. That was what you did, until you got, bumped up on the main roster. Then you started off doing, slowly. It was a slow build like it is now when NXT's got TV. And it was just, I walk out there, man, and I had been there long enough that people knew who I was. And plus I'm in my hometown or whatever. And I'm doing singles at the time. This was before, I left Inc., the tag team, and was just doing the Cowboy from Hell, Goth Black, and walked out, man, and 60,000 people went ape shit crazy. As soon as my music hit, I come out to Savage Brutality, but before then I came out to Metallica, For Whom the Bell Tolls. And as soon, I'm like, are they even going to know who, what are they, how are they going to react? Are they going to be into it? Are they going to, and you go, dong, and just the roof came off, and I'm like, I walk out, man, and I'm walking down the ramp and I'm looking at 60,000 people, man, that are just ape shit going crazy. I remember thinking to myself, so this is what it's like to be Metallica. Just like it was higher than any drug will take you, higher than any alcohol. I mean, it was an adrenaline high and a feeling that you cannot compare to anything. There's no way to describe it other than it's amazing. It's phenomenal. I wrestled in a lot of arenas in front of a lot of people, but that night in my hometown, the reaction I got from the crowd, and that was one of the biggest crowds at any wrestling event because of Hogan versus Goldberg, and to have that, I was like, okay, top of the mountain, man. It's going to be hard pressed to beat this one.
Were you in WCW around NWO?
I worked with all those guys, man, but they were, they're top guys, man. I'm a power plant guy trying to, climb up the ladder, man. But I was there when the NWO was peaking. I was there when Diamond Dallas was doing his thing, NWO, Ric Flair, Benoit, all those guys. I mean, Guerrero. I mean, I was there during that time. I was there for the last 3.5 years it was open. Sting, all those guys. So I was there, what I consider to be the heyday, the pinnacle of WCW. I was there, And
that was my favorite time in wrestling when Hogan came down at Daytona Beach, man.
Yeah, not because I was on the contract. I love getting paid well, but just to me, it was the best time in wrestling. Things were different then. The way things were done were different. I made a buku of money in WCW, man, and they treated me well. And Eric Bischoff, I still talk to. I love him, man. Best boss I ever worked for in wrestling. So it was my favorite time, not only as a wrestler, but as a wrestling fan. It was my favorite time.
Larry Zbyszko was on the show 6 months ago. That guy is funny as hell.
Man, I love Larry. Larry's one of the guys, like I said, man, he gave me the rub. He came back there for the locker room. I don't know what you assholes are laughing about. You need, I got respect for you. You wrestling. I mean, he buried the guys, and he walked away and I'm like, what, no jokes? No ribbon? What, so yeah, and I got to be really good friends with Larry. I mean, I enjoy his company. He tells great stories. He's done so much in the business. I love Larry. Great guy.
Chair shot or stepping on Legos?
What's that now?
Would you rather get a chair shot or step on Legos?
Man, I would always say chair shot, but man, back in my day, you didn't put your hands up. Like you took that shit the hard way. So I don't think I can afford any more concussions. So I'll go with Legos at this point. Another chair shot, it might be the end of it,
Funniest person in the locker room?
Oh, Jesus, man. Ron the Truth Killings. Without a doubt, Ron. Jesus Christ.
And then I need you to give me, if you can, one good rib that you may have been part of or may have been done to you.
I got one for you, man. And there's been a million of them through the years, but this is one of the ones that I find very entertaining. So we're at a venue and we're doing a house show, and there's this other, kid that's been trained under Sarge, and his nickname was Daffy. We called him Daffy because he had a little Daffy Duck tattooed on his stomach, so we made fun. We called him Daffy, And his gimmick, he was a high flyer, and they gave him like the Eminem gimmick, like he had the short blonde, the baggy pants and the wife beater. They were doing like an Eminem thing with him, a rapper thing or whatever. And we just call him Daffy. So we're in the backstage in the bathroom, whatever, and Daffy decides to, I said, hey man, you got a gimmick or whatever? He's like, yeah, man, I'll go in the bathroom and roll it up. And we're talking about cigarettes, just so you know. But anyway, he's rolling up the gimmick, and got the papers and breaking it out and whatever. So as he's rolling up the gimmick, man, for us to smoke, guy walks in like, I don't know, maintenance guy, I don't know what it was. And Daffy's like, oh shit, he's like trying to put, but the guy saw it. I mean, the guy saw it, right? Now, Daffy is dressed like a white rapper guy. And I got the cowboy hat and the Barry Windham cowboy boots. I'm doing a cowboy gimmick. So, the guy walks out, evidently he runs up to Sarge and narcs us out, tells on us whatever, So we come around the corner and Sarge is hot, man. He's hot. What the hell are you guys doing? I just had to make this super guy come over and tell me blah, 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 blah. And he's pissed, man. And I looked right at him and I said, Daffy, I told you not to do that. I tried to get him not to. He's like, you motherfucker, you son of a bitch. I'm like, I tried to tell him something. I threw him right under the bus. And what made it even better was like, bullshit, Sarge, what did the guy say? He said, well, he said, it was the wigger. He said the cowboy wouldn't do nothing wrong.
That's awesome.
This old redneck guy. So he loved the cowboy, but the white rapper kid, he threw under the bus. And, before that, I was just like, I told him not to, Sarge. I tried to get him not to. And I'm the one that asked him to do it. So, that's one of the best ribs there.
That's awesome. So, Huge Pop Entertainment, man. It's been a good hour, almost 2 hours with Goth Black. Many, many stories. Shotgun Savior stories. Awesome riffs by his wonderful wife that we shared with. Great stories of WCW. Lots more to come. Matter of fact, I think we're going to have Goth Black and his wife on the show in March or April if we could.
Yes, sir.
So I've got to announce something. This guy that I'm going to put up on the screen is very close to you. Next Monday with Rudy Gonzalez, my host on my Monday show, we are having this young man. I dropped the mic, Rugged Rod Price.
Oh shit! Oh God, I can't believe it, man.
We just had the son.
Oh my God!
I'm sure Mr. Rodney Price is going to listen.
Oh, he's going to bury me. He's going to bury the shit out of me.
No.
He always asked me, he knew I was doing the podcast. I didn't know he was going to be on here, but he told me the podcast, don't forget to put me over, son. Because I was, when he's doing podcasts, I'm like, did you put me over? Did you put me over? It's like a little joke, so he knew I was doing this one. And he's like, make sure you put me over. I was like, I always do, Pop. But now seeing that, it's even funnier because I know what he was doing now. So,
right. So
that's freaking awesome, man.
I'm going to ask you just like I asked him. Just going to give you some time to think about it. It's on Monday. If you please email me or text me some interesting facts or questions you think I should ask your father.
Oh,
yeah, see?
Yes, sir.
Turnaround's fair play, right?
Exactly.
So, Mr. Price, Mr.
Goth
Black.
Yeah.
I would love for you to close the show by telling people where they can find you, where they can find Shotgun Savior, and then we're going to close the show with music, and then we'll talk to you in a second.
All right, sir. Basically, Shotgun Savior. Facebook, please follow, like, and share. YouTube, we have our own channel, Shotgun Savior, videos, promos, interviews, all that stuff, man. We're also on Instagram, TikTok. I mean, if you do a search for Shotgun Savior, I'm pretty sure nothing's going to pop up but us, So we're on all the social media outlets, man. My wife handles a great deal of those with the Instagram, the TikTok. And we on anything else, honey? Did I cover it all? No, that's it. Yeah, Facebook and, YouTube is probably what I would say we're going to get the most content because it's got our videos. It's got a bunch of our songs. It's got a bunch of the interviews and promos. So, we're available out there on all kinds of things, but I would say Facebook.
Instagram is the most up-to-date, and Facebook.
Yeah, YouTube and Facebook are the most. Instagram and Facebook. I'm sorry, my wife's correcting me. All right, sorry. But anyway, so any of those, yeah. I mean, that's where, YouTube is where you're going to find the most music. Instagram's out there. Facebook's out there. TikTok, all of that, man.
Awesome. So it's Goth Black, WCW.
Well, the guy who sings for Shotgun Savior. Everybody gets us confused. His name is Brody Manson, and his wife is Willow Manson. People get us confused all the time.
All right.
So the singer for Shotgun Savior looks just like me. His name is Brody Manson. His wife is Willow Manson. Crazy how people always get us,
Crazy. It's crazy. That's how, Nikki Sixx. We did
right.
it.
Brody is a talented, good-looking guy, man. So I understand, but people always get us confused, man.
I don't know, man. Well, thank you very much, Goth Black, for coming on the show. Please don't go anywhere. I want to talk to you after off camera. So thank you again for your thank you, your wonderful wife, for helping us set this up.
Thank you,
Appreciate
sir.
Appreciate it. And it's been a huge Pop Entertainment on Drop the Mic. We love you guys. It's Goth Black.
Savage brutality or new reality to the size of an